Hey guys, thank you very much for watching. You are on the Scholar Online YouTube channel, the channel that is all about learning. If you're new to the channel and watching our videos for the first time, please remember to subscribe to our channel so that you'll always be notified when a new video is produced on our channel. We come up with new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays, but lately we've been working on this Python web development a course from scratch using Django, and we're only producing videos every other Saturday or Sunday, all right? But even though that's the case, our videos are very long, and I think that's enough content for the whole week. So if you come to the description of the video, there's a button there that says show more. You can click on that button and you can scroll through the bottom of the description, and you can see we've got timestamps for the videos that we're watching all the way for the whole 3 or 2 hours, however long the video is, all right? So you can just read about the part that you want to watch. If you only want to focus on walkthrough email templating, for example, you just click on that over there and it will take you to that timestamp, and you can only watch the section that you're interested in, all right? Also, in the description of the videos, we have links to our previous videos in this series. Okay, so we are like doing lecture, I think lecture 8 right now, but we've got like all the different videos. So if you find that, oh, we're doing stuff that you don't know how it got where we are, you can go and have a look at the list and maybe perhaps start and watching ahead, all right? And then we also have links to our social media. We've got a Facebook, a Twitter, and an Instagram page, and also have a website and our Scholar Online courses. You can find more on https://scholar.online. All right, guys, so let's get learning. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Scholar Online course, where we are building our own web application from scratch using Python and Django. We are in the process of putting together a careers portal website where we're going to be advertising jobs, and people can come and apply for jobs if they're interested. Okay, so what I want to focus on in this lecture is how we're going to get data for our web application. I mean, we've discussed the idea that we want companies to register and to be able to, enter their own, positions that they've got available. But when you're starting out with a web application, you're going to start out without any companies, because you're starting from scratch. You're going to start from scratch. As you can see right now, we don't have any companies that are going to be entering any job data. Okay, and this is sort of like a chicken and egg. In a lot of web applications, you'll find that when you don't have any data, you don't have any companies on your website, no companies are going to come, because there is no companies on the website. And then because no companies come, then you don't get companies on the website, then more companies don't come. So it becomes a problem. So when you get started, you sort of want to find a way to populate your database before you actually get companies that have committed and registered. Okay, and we're going to do this with a system or a process that is fairly legal. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing this, because we're going to actually go out there on the internet and find job applications and find data about current existing positions, and then we're going to grab that data and we're going to put it on our own website, so that at least our website has got some data, so that if somebody is visiting our website, whether it's a client or it's a company, they will see that our website has got some data on it. It's got some jobs they can apply to. It's got something happening. And that way we will start to build that cycle where, oh, there's something happening, let me register. And then as the people register, then more people register, because when people are registering, and then we're going to sort of build it from there, all right? So this is probably one of the most important, if not beneficial, lectures out of all the lectures I've done. And a lot of the lectures I've done is basic Django stuff that if you can Google it on YouTube, you will find a couple of tutorials doing what I'm showing you, okay? But what I'm going to show you now is one of those things that you're not going to easily find, especially down to the detail that I'm going to show you. So the skill I'm going to teach you here today is going to be one of the most beneficial skills, and you will be able to apply it to just about any process that you need to grab data from the internet for. So this is a very, very useful skill. This is something that is sellable. This is something that you're going to thank me for later, all right? So I'm going to show you two different techniques. So I won't populate the entire website right now, but I'm going to show you two different techniques, which I will then replicate over time to populate the website completely. But within these two techniques, we will be able to find data that we need, okay? The first one is grabbing data from a document, all right? So I went and I searched the internet, all right? And I searched the internet for government positions and government jobs, all right? And I come across this website over here, all right? And this is a South African government job government website that has vacancies. All right. So I Googled through all of this and I found a list of, links to other websites, and some of them are broken links, some of them working, some of them have got outdated, so I spent quite a bit of time going through this and researching where I can actually find jobs to apply to. All right. And out of everything that I looked through, the most promising website that I found is this one. I'm going to show it to you now. All right. So this website over here is, I'm just going to close this. All right. This website over here is called, Department of Public Service, and it's got, a list of circulars. I think they come out every week or every 2 weeks, just every couple of days. And they will list all the departments in government that have job applications open. All right. And if you click on this, the first one, for example, it will open for you not that one. All right. It will open for you a page like that, which has a PDF document. So you're going to find situations where data is available in PDF format like this. All right. So how would you go through this document and grab all the data that is in this document in a way that you can structure it in programmatic fashion and put it in like a JSON object or something like that then you can be able to manipulate further on and add this to your database in columns and rows that match your model or whatever of data, so that your Django application can be able to display this data on the front end, right? Because if you look at this, it's one long PDF file that has got, this is a position right here, post 0501, all right, and it's got a title over there. It's showing you the salary that you're going to get for this job, the requirements, the duties. This is exactly what I want to post on my website, right? But how can I grab this information from this document in all the different positions, right, and put it on my website? That's basically what the first technique that I'm going to show you in this lecture, right? The second technique is how to get this data if it's coming from an existing website, sort of using web scraping. Okay, so this one is PDF document scraping, the first technique. The second technique is on a website like this. So what I will do is that I will go to specific company websites. I'm going to actual companies like ABSA, SASOL, whatever, companies that are posting jobs that you will be able to apply directly on that company website without an agent in between. All right, so I'm going to those specific companies and I'm going to find websites that are sort of, what do you call it, scrappable, because not all websites are scrappable, but I'm going to find websites that are scrappable like this one. All right, I've done a little bit of research so I don't waste time on this video, and then scrap this data and put it in my own database. And this is not illegal because ABSA is showing this to you to apply for jobs. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take that same information and put it on my website. But then when people find it on my website, I'm going to just link them back to ABSA so that they can apply for the job on the ABSA website. So I'm actually just helping spread the message for ABSA. But in the process, I am building my own platform where I can start to collect an audience. And over time, why would you be building a website like a job search website? You would be building it to make money out of it. And how would you make money? The first way you'd make money is if you have enough traffic and enough people using your website. So if you make your website useful enough and they're really enough jobs and people can search and find jobs and they want to go to your website and they've got and you get a lot of organic traffic on your site, you can start selling adverts on your site and make money from advertising. That's the first method. The second method is actually a lot of companies pay for advertising jobs because they want their message to be out there. So if you grow your company and you get enough audience, I can go to companies and say, hey guys, I've got 50,000 visitors a month on my website. Can I advertise your job there? Oh, yes, you can. Okay, I charge this much for you to be on my website or for you to be on my front page. You know what I'm saying? But before you can have that conversation with a company, you need to have a working website. So this is what we're doing. So what we're doing now is that we're finding the data of the internet, putting it on our site so that at least we can get something that's moving and we can start building an audience and people can find our website useful. And over time, when we get the audience and our website is useful and people are using the website, then we've got the two methods we'll be using for monetizing it. The first one is just selling them adverts. The second one is charging companies to advertise on our website. You understand? So the second technique of web scraping, I will just do this on one website because this is quite involved. Basically, what you would need is to find each and every single website you can find that is scrappable, that is from a company that has up-to-date information that you can scrap on a regular basis, and write code for scrapping all those websites, right? Individually, because each website is different, it would require a different set of code. Add all of that with all the PDFs that you're going to be finding and scrapping, put all of that in your database and have that being displayed to your audience. You understand? So let's go. Let's get started. So this is basically in a nutshell what this lecture is going to cover, mostly for the first part, right? So as we get started, the first thing that I want to cover is I've redone my model a little bit, because as I was, the first time we went through this model was very early stages. I can't remember, lecture 2 or 3. And I was just showing you very high level how to do a model and just intro into Django. But now that I know more about the sort of the job model that we're going to be working with, I've added a couple more, parts to this model. I'm going to take you through it, okay? So what we're going to do is that this is now going to be the job application. So if you go back to I'm going to just stop this. Okay, so command close, and I'm going to clear this. So let's just have a look. We are in our project directory, but let's start with our models.py file. Okay, let's go into it. So our models.py file has, this is the jobs model. All right, if you remember, this is what we had the last time. All right, and inside the jobs model, we had a couple of options at the top, and then we had all the variables that go into the jobs model, okay? What you'll see is that this looks slightly different from what we had the last time I took you through this. I've added a couple more, what you call, variables in here, and mostly because when I was scrapping websites, I found more useful sort of things to add, okay? It's not a real big deal, but I thought, let me try and just match my model to the data that I'm going to be getting, okay? So as I was scrapping it and I was working through it, I just added more things. Like, for example, I added things like duties, inquiries, requirements, which wasn't there before, right? So I'll just take you through it, but I don't want to spend too much time, not too much detail. This is very similar to what we did last week. So writing a model file is exactly the same, okay? For the company, instead of just entering a company name, I thought if I enter the company as a model, I can specify more details about a company. I can specify the name of the company, the logo of the company, and it can be like a class in itself. All right, and if we go through our company model over here, you'll see I have the title, which is going to be like the name of the company. I have the description that we can write a little bit about the company, that we're advertising for, so that people that are applying for jobs can see all of that. I have the unique ID to help us identify an instance of the company, the company logo, and the slug. I added this in here. If you remember the slug field, this is the field that's going to help us. When we're building the URL, the absolute URL, we'll be using that. Okay, and I've added two important variables here that you haven't seen before, right? The first one is the SEO description. Okay, we're gonna get to this when we are building the detailed page, all right? But the SEO description is that description that you normally have in the meta tag of an HTML file, all right? And in the meta tag, you would have a description that is associated with that will be used for SEO and for this to help Google and the Google search engines understand what your web page is all about, all right? And the reason why I've added it on the company model itself is that I want to specify this specifically when I'm specifying the company instance, all right? And later on, when I build the detailed page for that company, I will be able to just refer to the SEO description instead of me hard coding the SEO description in all the different HTML files. I'm gonna put it in the model file, all right, so that I can be able to change it from the database directly. But maybe I can even programmatically write that description so that I don't have to like always think what it should be, and it will always be sort of correct, all right? And every time I add a new company, I can specify what the SEO description is. That's why I have it in here. And the SEO keywords work similarly to that, all right? So, and then you'll see over here the string, when you print out the instance of the company, I'm just sort of going to print out the title and the unique ID, all right? And then getting the absolute URL. This is where we're going to be using this absolute URL for the detailed page of the company instance, all right? And for that, the name of the URL will be called company detail, and then we'll have to, it will take the argument of the slug in there, all right? And that will be able to help us find that company detailed page, all right? You've seen this before in our previous lectures when we did the detailed profile page. This works exactly the same as that, okay? If you haven't seen that, you can go have a look at that. I explained it in more detail in that lecture, so I'm not going to do it in this one, all right? And then also the save function, all right? I also want to explain this in detail because basically what this does is that it overrides the existing save function inside of the model, Django model, all right? And we are able to do other things in there. For example, specify our unique ID so that every time you save it, if the unique ID does not exist, so if this unique ID has not been specified, which in the first time you save it, it would not exist, we'll be able to actually calculate it from the UID, which will be imported at the top there. All right, and we'll specify the unique ID for the company, and then after that we will specify the slug, all right? And for the slug, we'll use just company as a word company, and then we will add in the title in there, okay? And the title will be the name of the company. So if it's Absa or Vodacom, it will be company Vodacom, and then that last part is the unique ID, which is the one which is going to specify that, all right? So the slug will end up looking like something like let me just type it in here. It will look like maybe something like company, because when you slugify, you get rid of the capital, and then there'll be like a dash there, and then it will be the company name. Let's say it's Vodacom, all right? So it will say company dash Vodacom, and then it will say, the unique ID, whatever it is, going to be some letters and something like that, all right? So this will be typically the slug, all right? And if it's a government website and the company was specified as government, it will say company, government, and whatever the unique ID. If the company is Absa, it will say company, Absa, whatever. So this will be the slug that we're gonna create using this method that we have over there, all right? And I think this is a good identifier for a company because it has all the elements that you want, the company name and all of that. And then after that, I'm going to actually specify the SEO description and the SEO keywords every time I save the model, right? So how am I going to put together the description? I've just sort of put in random words, okay, not random words, but like the words that would typically fit into an SEO description, all right? And what you want in an SEO description is your keywords, things like identifiers, specific company names, specific functionality, which is what we're doing here. This is a job search website, so we want people to know that you can apply for jobs, jobs online. Keep, your keyword here, careers portal. Make sure that careers portal is all over here. So eventually apply for jobs online. Okay, I'm gonna just put in there on careers portal. All right, on careers portal, start your career journey today, and then we're going to add the self-title in there. So the description will be apply for, if the company name was Absa, it will be apply for Absa jobs on careers portal, start your career journey today, okay? And this is just very short, but you know that for an SEO description, you have up to 160 characters, okay? So you can extend this and write it in a way that makes sense to you, but just keep in mind that whatever you put in here will be saved as the SEO description every time you save your model, right? and the keywords similar thing. I'll have over the title, and then so this will be like APSA jobs. If the company's APSA, it will be like APSA jobs, careers portal, apply for jobs. All right, and you can rewrite this in a way that makes sense. Okay, I've just put in whatever random string in here to just show you how you can actually write this already in the model itself, and then it will be saved as part of the class. And then inside of your HTML file, when you're collecting your company instance in the object, you can then be able to access this field of SEO description and keywords from the HTML and put them in the appropriate location on the HTML file. And then you don't have to hard code them for every page, because if you think about it, when you are building them, the detailed page, you don't always know the instance that's going to be called. Okay, so you can't actually hard code the detailed page. You have to, the data that goes into the page is sort of called from the database as you specify the URL, as you specify the unique ID and the title or whatever that's going to go into the slug. Then you're going to be able to call out the instance of that detailed page from the absolute URL. So at that time, the specific HTML page actually only has, sort of like, Python object dot, sort of arrangement. So every bit of data that you're going to be displaying in your detailed page has to be either hard-coded into the page itself, or it has to come from the database. And if it's hard-coded, it's going to be replicated every time you call the detailed page. So for that not to be replicated, you better write that information inside of the class or the model instance itself, right? I don't know if I'm making sense, but I don't want to spend more time on that than what I've already specified, right? And for the category class, it's exactly the same as the company class, very similar. These are all the paths or the variables that I want to go into the category, but everything else is exactly the same. Okay, and then finally, going back to the jobs model, then we will specify the foreign key of company and category. So every time a job is specified, we are going to have to specify what company that job relates to. All right, and that company is going to have to exist in our database, because we're going to have to pick it up from our instances inside of our database. Okay, and then we're going to have to specify a job category as well. The category will be something like, is it an IT job? Is it an office job? Is it like an engineering job? Whatever. So those will be the type of categories we're talking to. So we have to specify those categories before we create the job instances, and then after that, everything else will sort of be like strings, text field, or whatever. These are the only things I wanted to really highlight. The rest is similar to what you've already seen. Okay. And at the end over here, this is also the same. I'll need to, specify the string, when you call an instance, string, and also the absolute URL is exactly the same. This will be called job detail, and it will have a slug. And also, again, we've overridden the save method to specify our unique ID, our slug, our SEO keywords, and our SEO description. And you'll see for the SEO keywords over here, for the specific job, I have a little bit more detail: careers portal, online job application, full-time, part-time jobs, get a job, apply today for a job, here, there, whatever. And this we're going to slot in the title, apply for a job at APSA, and whatever the name of the job is. Okay, so the job title will be like, for the engineering, whatever position that is available at APSA. So I think this one, when it's written out, you'll see that the SEO description makes a little bit more sense than what we had over here, because I think I didn't spend enough time figuring out what's the correct one, but I can always fix that later. Okay, so that's basically it. This is everything that I've done to update my model, and then we're gonna then proceed from here to specify some instances of the model. Okay, and how I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna write code that scraps the website or the document. All right, and that code will also immediately scraps that data, save it into the database underneath the specific class that it needs to save the data into, so that I can be able to read it on the other side of the database. All right, so let us continue with that. Okay, so to get the data for our website, we're going to start with the government website. All right, so this is one of the links I found when I was doing my research to the government website, and I think it was probably the most up-to-date website with government available positions. And if you look over here, you'll see the last time they posted Circular 5 was on the 12th of February, which is just a day ago. The last one was, the fourth one was updated on the 5th of February. So this is like about a week and a half, space in between. And so this is pretty sort of like up to date. And I thought this, out of all the websites I went through, this is the one place that has everything in one place, and probably the best one for me to use for my current website. And if you just click on the first one over there and you open it in a new tab, it's not that one. You open it in a new tab, it's a PDF document like this, okay? So we have to find a way to extract this information, and this is going to be a little bit trickier than if you were, crawling a website, or if you were like, extracting data from a website, because a website like this, for example, has got tags around it, and if you used like a website scrapper, which we are going to use later on in the tutorial, you'll see it's easy to identify and extract parts of an HTML file, because you can extract based on finding all the tables, finding all the the anchors, finding all the H2s, the tables, whatever. That's a good and easy, fast way to extract data from an HTML file. But if you look at a PDF, for example, you don't have tags. You don't have anything that's telling you, oh, please find me all the titles or find me all the salaries. You have to manually tell Python where to actually get that, text from, all right? And there's many ways to do this, all right? And probably if you had time, you could write like a machine learning program that would, find the specific things that you're looking for are based on the name of the title or whatever, but that's not what I'm gonna do here. I'm not going to do an advanced AI way of finding the information out of the file. I'm actually going to do it very old school, sort of walking through the file and breaking the file down into specific sections, and then knowing that this exists in this section, therefore this is the title, things like that, right? And this is a manual way of doing it, and the program I'm going to write is going to be only applicable to this document, and it's only applicable if the document design doesn't change. So if the design of the document remains as it is, my program is going to work. But lucky for me, if you look at all the other ones, I'm going to click on another random one, and put this one next to that one, this PDF A and PDHF. You'll see that that they're both pretty similar, right? It looks like the design of the PDFs is pretty much the same throughout, and I went through a lot of the documents as I was preparing for this, and a lot of the ones I found are actually very, very similar. Okay, so I'll be able to, hopefully my code will be robust enough that I'll be able to reapply to all the different documents. All right, so let's go through the code. All right, but the first thing before we even get the code for this is that we have to download the document itself. All right, and for that I'm going to use a Python library called PyPDF2. All right, and if you just search for that, py is a big P and small y PDF2, you'll find their website over there. Where you can download the library. So maybe you can just copy that over there and let me install it, and make sure that when you install it, you are in your root of your directory, and you don't have to be in the root of the directory, but you have to have the virtual environment active, which is like that at the edge, and then you just click enter there, and then it should go collect and install a PyPDF2. All right, so once that is done, I'm just going to try something, Python. All right, and then I'm gonna just try to import a PyPDF2 like that at the top. Make sure I don't have errors, and if that imports correctly, then it means PyPDF2 was installed properly. All right, and then I'm gonna clear that. Right, then I'm gonna show you what I'm going to be doing here. All right, the first thing that I need is to find the actual URL of the PDF that I want to download. All right, so the URL that I'm going to be downloading is, let me just go over there, where was I? And I'll find the PDF. So I'm going to start with the first document, which is this one over there, and I'm going to copy that URL and I will put it in there. All right, so it's this URL over there. All right, then once I've gotten the URL, the second thing that I need is the location of where I need to save the file. All right, so the location is going to be in my computer, Zatosh. This is in my username, and this is the root where my current application is, Scholar app. So if you look at the root over here, dev scholar app is this root over here, dev scholar app. And then after that, I'm gonna create a folder called data. So let me just list this, and I'll see the folder doesn't exist. So we're gonna just do mkdir and a folder called data, like that. All right, so if I list again, you will see now that folder called data is there. All right, and then inside the folder called data, I'm gonna just give it a name, testing1.pdf. all right. So, and we're just gonna do this to check that the PDF works properly, right? So for that, we're gonna use the command line. All right, there's many ways to do this, but the Python code that I'm gonna be writing you is gonna be a Python code that uses sub process to actually run command line programs from inside your Python file. So if you type in ls from your shell like that, this is a command line command, for example, that lists everything inside your directory. Okay, ls minus l, it lists everything where you are, right? So I'm going to be writing command line commands inside Python program to use a library called wget. All right, and I'm going to just type that in there, and I'm going to say library called wget. Okay, make sure it's installed. All right, and if you want to make sure that it is installed inside of your computer, you can just type in which wget like that, and it will tell you where it exists currently. So it exists inside of my user bin, which means I do have wget as a program. If you don't have it, you can just go Google on the internet how to download it and install it, whatever operating system you're working with. And then and hopefully you're following along and you're working off Linux like what I'm doing, and you've got a droplet or a virtual private server, and then you can just search for how to install wget inside of a Linux whatever 20.04 whatever DigitalOcean droplet. You could just say virtual private server, right? So once you have wget, we're gonna use it to run this command, right? So the function to run a command is this one over there. All right, so I can go to the bottom of this file and type in run command. All right, so whatever command I type in here is a command that's going to be run. Okay, so the command that I'm going to run is I'm going to just put cmd, all right, for command, and I need to have everything inside of an array or a list, okay, that is going to go into the command. All right, and if I was trying to list everything in my directory, I would have to say ls like that. And if I wanted to do ls minus l, I have to like separate each and every single section of the command like a like strings inside of a list like that, right? So the command that we need to be writing in here is a command like this, right? So if I was typing it in my command line, it would be wget, right? It would be wget, and I would put -o like that. All right, and then I would put the location that the location where the file is gonna go to. All right, and then over here I would put the URL. Okay, so the location would be that this location over there, where the PDF must be saved, and the URL would be the URL where this must get the the URL where the PDF currently exists on the internet, where wget must get the PDF form. So this is how I would type it on the command line, right? So I could just actually just like copy that and remove that, because I'm not going to type it like that over there. I'm going to do it in here, right? And paste it over there, and then put everything inside of what you call like that. All right. All right, and then wget, you'd put a comma, or you'd put a comma, but this location needs to actually be that location over there. All right, so it needs to be this string. So you can take the whole string and copy it in there, but since you've already defined it over there at the top there, you could actually just like do it like this, like that, and say dot format location. All right, and remember to put in the comma over there, and the URL you could do it the same. All right, so you could also put the curly braces like that and say dot format URL. All right, so basically this is going to take wget .0, and then it's going to take the location and whatever all in one line, and then it's going to hopefully download this file for me. All right, so the command that you want to run in here is cmd like that, or you could just take that whole thing as it is, X out of there, and you don't have to define any variable, and you can just type it inside of your run command, and it's going to run that function over there. All right, so let's test this. All right, so let's see what's happening here. So resolving www data, it's going over there, it's connecting to that whatever, it's connected, HTTP request 200 OK, which means it found the website, it got that document, and it's 989 kilobytes big. It's saving that document into testing1.pdf, and it's going through saving that whole. So hopefully everything went well. I would have gotten an error if it didn't, but to just make absolutely sure, we're gonna cd into data. If you remember, data is the folder inside where we are saving this file. Where is it? Saving into the data. All right, so let's list everything in here, and you see you now have a file called testing1.pdf. This is Linux, so I can't actually open this file in here, but we're going to open it using Python again. All right, so we're going to use Python to open this PDF file. Okay, and how we're going to do it is this: we're going to write another program. All right, so that location now has a file in there, so there's now a file inside of this location. All right, so I'm not going to run this command anymore. I'm just going to put, because in Python you can just do that. All right, so I'm going to now open this file and read this file using Python, and print out the file and show you how to do that. All right, so I'm going to write another function called it goes like this with open. All right, with open, I'm going to open the location, which is this location over there. All right, I'm going to open the location as RB, like that. All right, as F. All right, and I'm gonna define a variable called PDF, and I'm gonna say PDF is equals to this PDF reader, which I imported at the top over there. So PDF, I'm gonna say is equals to that PDF reader, and then I'm gonna try and read this this file location over there. All right, so I'm opening this where this file is located, and I'm using the PDF reader to read this file. Okay, so once I finish reading that file, I'm going to get a page of that file, because you have to print it out page by page. All right, so I'm going to say, let me actually just do this first. Number of pages. All right, so if you want to know like how many pages that you have inside of your PDF document, then you can just say number of pages is equals to PDF, and that's that PDF over there. All right, dot num pages, like that. All right, and then if you want to know any page, you want to get any information from any page, for example, so let's say page 1. All right, the page 1 of the document, page 1 is equals to, all right, you're going to use that same PDF, and you're going to say PDF dot get page. All right, and then inside there we're going to take in an argument of the page that you want to get, whether it's page 1, page 2. Typically what you would do is that you would find out the number of pages first of all, and then you would say for page in number of pages, please print out the page or whatever, get that page. All right, so now we have page 1, which is that PDF dot get a page 1. All right, and if you want to get the text inside here, okay, the text 1, this is now the text that's inside of the page 1. All right, so text 1 is going to be equals to page 1 dot extract a text. Extract text, that one. All right, and then we can then print text 1. All right, we can then print text 1. All right, so I can actually just copy this part, all right, like that, and then I'm gonna get cd out of there, and then I'm gonna open nano test1 test1.py, which is that file I was working from. All right, so I don't want to run this again, so I'm just gonna sort of put that on top of it, and then I'm gonna paste the second part, which opens the document. So the first time we were saving the document, but now we've already run this, so the document has been saved. Now what we're doing is to open that document and using the PDF reader to read the document, and then get the number of pages, and then look at page 1, and then get the text over there and print out that text. and then hopefully it'll print directly on the command line. It will see what's on that. This is to make sure that actually we did download the right document. All right, so I'm going to close this and save over there, and then I'm going to just run Python test1. Okay, text1 is not defined. Let's see. Okay, so there's a spelling error over there. Text1. All right. Python test1. There you go. All right. Now it's printing basically a couple of things, but technically this should be everything that is inside of page 1. Okay. And directive for the implementation of competency-based assessments. I'm just going to copy this, right? And I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go to the document that I've opened over there. And I'm going to paste it at the top for search. And you can see there it is. It's at the beginning of the page, directive for the implementation of competency-based assessment. But it's actually not page 1. It's page 2. So this is page 1, and this is page 2. So, okay, it looks like when you're printing page 1, it's actually printing page 2. Let's print the very first page so I can show you that this is exactly what's coming out, okay? Test.py. All right. So if you look at the top of the file over there, it starts with Annexure A, Department of Basic Education. The Department of Basic Education is committed to providing wada. And that is what we have at the top there. Annexure A, Department of Basic Education, Department of Basic. So basically we are reading this file and printing it out over here like this. So now we have the ability to go through this document and find specific things that we're looking for. I'm using very, I don't know, I wouldn't call it advanced, but involved rather, okay, very involved, very tedious process of finding specific parts of the document. And that's what we're going to be doing next in this lecture, to now extract this information. Now that we know how to get a page out, we know how to collect it, we know how to download it, we're going to download all the pages, and then we're going to go through the pages and find the information that we want. Okay, now this URL, I mean the code that I've been working on, I've sort of been providing this URL to you. Okay, and in reality, in our Python program, we want to get this URL sort of programmatically, automatically. So I want to work off one URL. If you look at this website, I just want to work off this one website that I can hard code into my code. And then from this website, every time they upload a new circular, I want to go through this and now crawl this website and find the links on this website and then click them and then download the document. You understand? So now let's is this the page source? I think this is the page source for that vacancies. Yes, that's the one, right? So let's search for basic education. All right, you'll see this list of basic education, defense, employment, labor, and all of that. You know, it's the same list here: basic education, defense, labor, wada. So this table is that table over here. Okay, national departments, provincial administrations. This is that table over here, national departments, provincial administrations. I want to get these links from this website. So the only website I'm going to hard code is this one. And then from this website, I will get these links. And then I will click these links using my, crawler. And then when I click these links, I will open individual PDFs, all right? And then download those PDFs individually, then extract the information. So before we even go into the code for extracting the information, let's go through the code first of all of going through this website and using Beautiful Soup for that, right? So for Beautiful Soup, I'm going to close that and I'm going to search for Beautiful Soup. Beautiful Soup. All right. And it's that one over there. All right. So open it in a new tab. And the first thing that you need to do is install this inside of your virtual machine. So I'm going to clear this and I'm going to install it, and then just make sure you are inside of your environment. All right. So let's install that. All right. So it's installing quests. and then we can work off Beautiful Soup. All right, and you'll see on the website they do have, you know, sort of like some coding that will help you get started, but I've already typed the code out that I'm going to be using, and I'm going to take you through it. All right, so we needed request and we needed Beautiful Soup. Those are the two things that you need to install, and then you can make sure they install properly by checking the shell over there, but it's not a big deal. Then you need the headers, okay, and just use this headers user agent Mozilla, so that you're sort of telling you know, your request that, you know, you're like trying to tell it that you are actually a browser, you know, with Mozilla. It doesn't always work, but it works for a lot of the websites, so you don't have issues with being blocked as a bot. All right, and then the URL that we want to crawl is this one over here, http dbsa, which is that URL over there. Okay, it's that one, dbsa government da, 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 da. This is the URL that you want to crawl. All right, and then so what we're going to do is that we're going to use request to get that URL. Then after that, we're going to grab the content of the request that we just did, and then after that, we're going to use Beautiful Soup to parse that content. All right, so this Beautiful Soup parses the HTML content over there, and then once you've parsed it, you can then run, you know, requests or run queries against that soup object over there. Okay, so you can, like, for example, look for all, you know, HTML elements that you want. Okay, so once you can view the page source, you'll be able to see sort of how you want to do this. Okay, so when I viewed the page source, I wanted first of all to get this table over here. All right, so I wanted to get a TD with this style over there, and I think that's what I tapped over there. So the first thing that I wanted to find is to find all the TDs that have that style of border, one solid navy. So it's going to specifically look for tables that have that style of formatting to it, and then it will take the first table, and this is these tables over here. So these are these tables. So these tables will come up as that TD whatever. And if you want to make sure that that's exactly what's happening, have a look at my web scraping tutorial. But you can right click on the page itself, and instead of view page source, you can go to inspect. All right. And if you go to inspect, you will be able to, like, you know, as you sort of hover over a certain part of on the inspect side, you know, you will see it being highlighted over there so that you know what part of the HTML you're looking at. So I'm hovering over there, and it looks like that whole body is in there. So you can open it up, and inside over there you will see this is all your tables. So this is table style border what navy. It's the first table, and then you have a tables border, the second one, you know, the third one and fourth. And so if you go up here and you check the other tables, you'll see these are all the different tables. All right, so the first table that we want that's getting highlighted, this one, is the very first one over there, circular 5. And every time they add a new circular, it will always be on top, because that's how they're organizing this. So if you look for all the tables that have this styling, and you always pick the first table, it will always be the latest table, and it will always have the latest information, and that's what we want. All right, so that's what we're doing over here. We are finding all the TDs that have this style. All right, and we're gonna be getting the links from the tables at 0. All right, and the tables at 0 will be the tables at 0 will be that first table. All right, so let me see. All right, and these are the links, these are the A's that have href. All right, so that's what we're doing over here. All right, so once we have found the tables where we find all the TDs with the style whatever, we're looking at the tables at 0 and the tables at 1. We're actually looking for the first two tables, and the first two tables actually later on with a little bit more detail I found was this table and that table. All right, so okay, find all always returns a list, and I can show this to you. All right, so I'm gonna say find all that, and let's say I want to print you know, no, let's not do it like that. Let's do it like this. Let's say for table in tables. Okay, so I want to iterate through this list. As I'm telling you, this is returning a list. All right, so for table in tables, okay, I want you to print, all right, the table. But before you print the table, I want to just print a new line so that it can make some space between the different tables and you can see what's going on over here. All right, so I'll show you all the different tables that are going to be printed. All right, so I'm just going to copy this, all right, as it is. and run Python test.py. All right. So you'll see the different tables over there, and I've put spacing between them so that you can see the different tables. All right. And you can always do this when your web scraping is an iterative process. You look through your website. Where is it? You look through your website, you open up the HTML part in line with it so you can see where on the website things are. All right, you grab a certain section of the website. You can always print it out in the code itself so that you can check what you're actually grabbing, And web scraping is an iterative process. It takes time. That's why each and every single website is unique. If I've written code to scrap this website, it's unique to the HTML of this website. If I wanted to scrap now the APSA website or the Vodacom website, I have to rewrite the code for the next website because everything is different. So now let's just go all the way to the top. It looks like there's a lot of tables, and you'll see what I'm talking about. This is the first table, and the first table goes from A to L, and L is transport. Okay, so this A anchor that has the href, that anchor is transport. All right, so I'm going to go over here and have a look again at my actual website, and you'll see that it ends at transport, okay? And then the provincial administration starts at Free State, Gauteng, whatever. So I wanted to show you that actually this is a different table, okay? So now the provincial administration starts from Free State, Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Western Cape. So what I want to grab this part and this part. I want to grab the first two elements, or the first two elements inside of this list of tables, all right, which is that long part and the provincial part, the short part. That's why in my code I have it like that. I have find all A from tables at 0. So this is tables at 0 is the first element of the tables list, and tables at 1 is then the second element of the tables list. All right, so I printed this to show you what's actually coming out there and why I'm grabbing tables at 0 and tables at 1. All right, then I created a new list, which is just a blank list or an empty list, and then I iterated through these tables at 0s to find all anchors. All right, and the list is this list over there. I want to append all the anchors because I want to create a separate list that has just the anchors, all right, from tables at 0 and tables at 1, right? And to see what's going to come out here, I can actually just print the list. Actually, it's going to print in a way that you can't read it. So I'm going to say for X in the list, all right, print X, so that it prints it one at a time. Then I'm just going to print for you, print a new line so that you can see a space between all the different lists. So this is just printing, but it's going to print in a way that you can see better than if I just printed the list as a whole, because it will just be one big blob that you don't see what's going on there. So I'm going to copy this again and go back to my whatever and clear what's over there. Remove the current test.py. All right, nano test.py. Let's just paste that code in there. All right, and close it, and then run Python. .py. All right, so it's printing all the A's, all the hrefs, all the anchors, so I'll be able to grab this href from this, from this anchor, and click on it to get the detailed page, to be able to actually open a new a website where I can, not a new website, a new window or a new link where I can download this document, right? So I need the link to be able to download the document, right? Now that we have this list, all right, I'm gonna copy this code. Actually, and I want to combine this with the original code that we had before, right? So this code that I had over here, I'm going to put that in there. And instead of hard coding the link like that, we are going to grab the link from over there, all right? So I'm going to copy that. and I'm going to put it somewhere here. All right. So currently this is just describing variables. This is not doing anything. All right. And I'm now going to, write code that is going through the website, grabbing these links, all of these links in this list. All right. And download the files. All right. But if you look at the links, let's look at the links again. If you look at the links, it actually starts documents, vacancies, that. Okay, this is not a full URL that you can click on. All right. If you go to one of the example documents, let's just copy that. Okay, we already have an example document over here. If you look at an example document's URLs, all right, this part is what you're getting. So I'm getting only this part, but this part is exactly the same for all the documents. All right. So that's why I specified this as my base URL. I think I have it at the bottom here. No, I don't have it over here. So let me do that. Let me now specify something that I want to call the base URL. All right. And then I want the base URL to be just this. Okay. And that at the end. All right. So that I can combine this base URL with all of the links that are coming out of there, all right, and I can run the command to save all these files in my computer, all right. So let's do that. All right, so I have my links over here. So I'm going to iterate through this list. I'm going to say for X in the list. Okay, so I'm going to be iterating through this list over there. All right, let me just go up, make some space so that you can see what I'm doing. All right, for X in the list, right, for everything that's in the list over there, I'm going to create, to say the base URL is that. I'm going to say the URL is equals to that. Base URL base slash X. Okay, so what I'm doing here is that I'm saying for every X, for every element inside the list, I'm going to create a variable of the URL. I'm going to create a new URL, and that URL is going to be the base URL first, which is that base URL at the top over there. Where is it? Which is that base URL at the top over there, and then I'm going to combine it with the URL itself, which is the X. Actually, it's not going to be the X. It's going to be, because what we're getting here is this entire thing, and we need to actually just get the href of that, all right? So it's going to be X slash href. All right, and let me just print this to make sure, okay? All right. So it's printing properly HTTP, DB, whatever, and there's no double slashes where there shouldn't be, .a.pdf all the way up to P. So the URLs are the way that I want them, okay? So basically, this is all the URLs, okay? So I'm not going to print it anymore, all right? So then I need to then run this code, all right, that gets that URL and saves it where I want it to save it, all right? So let me paste that in there. So I'm running the command, and run command, where's my run command function? It's at the top there, so I need to actually delete it from there, all right, and put it somewhere next to the base URL, doesn't matter, as long as it's above the line so that I can be able to call the function over there. So I'm running the location. So instead of running the location, I'm going to be running, okay, the location will be different. So I need to create a new location, all right? So let's do this. Let's say count is equals to 1, all right? And then I'm going to create a new variable for location. I'm going to call it the location, all right? And the location is going to be this. Let's copy that. right? So the location is going to be that. Now, let's copy the whole thing. All right, but instead of testing, I'm going to call it, careers portal. Oh, careers. Let me not put any space. Careers, and then instead of a one, I'm just gonna put like a, like an empty, space like that, so that I can format the string and put in whatever variable I want. All right. So I'm gonna put in a variable count in there. So basically, what it's going to be doing is that it's gonna go, it's gonna get the count, and it's gonna format count so that this count is now 1. All right. And then after that, this will now be the location. So instead of location over there, I want to put the location. All right. And then instead of the of URL, I want to put the URL. All right. And then once I've done that, I need to say count, add 1 to count, so that every time it runs this, it adds 1, and then the next time the count will be 2, and then it will save this under a different count, and then we'll have like different files. Let's hope this will work. And then every time it goes through this, it will be going through a different X, and because it's going through a different X, this URL will be different. So this URL will be different based on the X over there. Even though the base URL is the same, the location will be different based on the number over there, based on the count, and the command though will be the same. And this URL and location will always be different, and hopefully the count will keep incrementing, but also the X will keep incrementing until we finish iterating through the entire list. And if this works properly, we should be able to save all the files that are within this the list. And this the list is obviously this list I'm printing over there. It's the list that we got from our, that we've iterated through there. So this is, if this code runs properly, we should be able to save all the files currently in our computer that we can be able to extract the data from. All right. Okay, so we finished downloading all our documents. Let's clear this. I didn't see any errors, so I think everything went well. Let us list this, and let us go into CD data, and let us hope that it worked to get to save it under a different file name. Let's list in there. There you go. So now I have careers1.pdf, careers 10. So all the different files are saved under different careers, wada. So we have careers 1 up to 15, I think. Up to careers 15, all right. So we can then now do the second part. So the first part was just to save, but then the second part now is where we're going to now extract that data the way that we want it, and work with it, and we'll do that just in a moment. Now I'm going to take you through how I parsed this document, all right? But how you choose to do it will really depend on yourself, and I'm going to give you some principles that you can sort of use, all right? And I just want to open a file that has got more than one job at a time. Let me look at this one. Okay, this one has a couple of jobs. And how you choose to do it depends on you, and you could do it in a different way than I'm doing it. But I think if you can understand the principles that I'm going to give you, you could use the same type of principles in parsing a document and getting the data out of it. The first requirement of the document is that the data must really follow the same structure. If it doesn't follow the same structure, you're not going to be able to do this using the method that I'm giving you. You might have to consider a more intelligent approach, okay? So if I look at this, and I was happy to see that this data is following the same, it's following the same structure, and probably they use another program to write it, hence it's following a structure. And that's what you want when you're passing documents. They have to look identical, so that when you write the code, they will pass through the code in the same way. So if you see here, you'll have posts at the top. let's say this is the first position, right? There will be a post number, and then after that there will be like a title of the job, so the job is a director, advisory, and support, all right? And then there'll be a salary, and then they'll show you what the salary is, okay? Then there'll be a center, and the center will be the location that the job is based on. And then there'll be the job requirements, which will be a paragraph, all right? All right, so this will be a paragraph, and after that there will be duties. All right, and the duties will be another paragraph. All right, and then there'll be inquiries and a paragraph, and then there'll be applications and something else, right? So I picked files at random and made sure that the majority of them are following this structure. In fact, all the ones I went through are following this structure with minor exceptions, okay? Some of the exceptions I found was that some documents don't have applications and end only at inquiries, all right? But every document I looked at ends at least at inquiries, all right? So in your code, you're gonna have to cater for what happens when these applications doesn't exist and find a way to get through it, okay? And I tried many ways to go through this, okay? The number one principle is that you have to split the document up into multiple sections that you will analyze separately, okay? So already, if you look at our code at the top here that we put together, where was it? I think I've deleted it already. I'm no longer using it. But if you look at the code that we wrote for when we were collecting the PDF, we had to put it in page by page. So we had to like go to the PDF and say PDF is a PDF file reader, and then okay, I'll just retype this code quickly so that you can see what I'm talking about. All right. We had a code that said with open location, wherever the file was located, RB like that as file, and then we created then the PDF object that said that was like the PDF file reader. There it is, the PDF file reader, and then we put in that F as an argument for that so that we can read that F that we just opened from that location. And then we were able to say page 1 of this document, page 1 of this document is equals to the PDF, all right, dot times get page, and we entered page 1, all right? So we were able to say page 1 is a PDF get 1, and this is the way to access documents out of. We sort of are going to access it page by page. So by default, this document has already been broken down into different pages, all right? But within the page 1, once we get page 1, you saw that when I printed it out, they were also broken down into lines, okay? So every time there was a line break, it was a different line, it was a different line. So what you need to do is to find something consistent that you can break down the document even further, okay? So I tried a couple of things. The first thing that I tried was to so this whole section, this entire page from here to the bottom here is broken down into one long string, but within that string you have the page breaks in the string, like you'll have elements in that string that are looking like this. So you'll have like a new page illustrating there's a page break, there'll be other like there's other characters within the string. So to cut a long story short and not going through the entire detail of everything that I exactly did, in summary, you have to find something consistent to break down your document into small sections. The first thing that I tried was to break it down on the new line, all right? So I tried to say, take that document, whatever it is, page 1. So obviously we extracted the text by saying page 1, let me just go down here, by saying that text 1 was equals to page 1 dot extract text. We did this, all right? We said text 1 is page 1. This text is the one that is one long string, all right? And this one long string, for example, you can take text 1, right, and split text 1. All right. If you just split, it will split it on like, all the spaces, and it will split it into individual words. You don't want that. That's too much. So I tried to split it on, on the new lines. Okay. So I tried to split it on the new lines so that it will create an array of objects. All right. And that array of objects will be each and every single sentence. All right. Each and every single sentence will be inside of an array of strings. So this will be in an, will be in it will be an item. This will be an item. This will be an item. Each and every single line will fall into an item. And then you can go through those items and look for where requirements start. All right. Because you know that this is always going to be called requirements. So you can go and look and go through that item and look at where requirements starts, and every single array that follows requirements until the next one, duties, you can put into a paragraph and call that a paragraph. You know what I'm saying? So now you are thinking about how now to then, once you've split this up, then search for specific words in your text and find where the word starts and where the word ends, and then, find where this word starts, okay, requirements, and where duties start, and everything in between requirements and duties will be the paragraph that fits into requirements. And that's what I'm saying. So if you had an array, for example, that I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you had an array here, and this array was, the name of the fox is, Peter, but Peter was not very happy. And then there would be another word that says end, right? If this was an array and you went through this array and you filtered through the array and you said for X in, let's give this a name and call this list, whatever, let's call this a list. For X in list, right? So we're going to go through each and every single element in this list. And we said, the first element of the array, so we would say, if the in list, right? If the in list, and we knew specifically that, let's not even call it the, let's say, because what I liked about this as well was that it was capitalized. I think if it was not capitalized, we were going to have a bit of an issue, right? So this there specifically is capitalized, and that's what really helped us in being able to to iterate through this. I was able to say if the in list, all right, so I'm going to look for every element which has the in it, and if the in list and what is it, list index, whatever, list index, I'm writing now index where X is, so I'm looking for the specific word. I'm not sure if this is correct Python syntax. I could be wrong, but I'll research it later. What I'm trying to say is that if there exists and that specific word that there exists in is upper, you can use this. This is a Python function that you can call. If it's upper, then you would know that specifically there exists in there and it's an upper. Then you're gonna find that index, okay? And once you get that index, then everything after that index plus one until the next index where the letter is capitalized, and you know what exactly it is because you know that after requirements the next one is duties. Everything that follows after that you're gonna put into one string, right? So that's the first type of coding that you can write, but I found this a bit too tedious, so I didn't do it this way. It's the first thing that I tried. It took me the whole day trying to figure out how to do it this way, and I ended up not doing this way because it was a little bit, there was a lot of moving objects doing it that way, and there was too much effort in the coding. So then I tried something else. So instead of splitting it on the new line, okay, I went and I split it because what I realized is that, hey, actually, every time there's a title, you have this semicolon over there, all right? And this semicolon is in the middle, which means it has a space over there and it has a space over there because you have a semicolon over there as well next to deputy director. So some of the semicolons everywhere, but the difference about the semicolon is that it's got spaces between them. So instead of splitting it on the new lines, I decided to split it on the semicolon, but not just every single semicolon. I split it on the semicolon with spaces. So I actually put spaces, a space, a semicolon, and a space. And then if you look at the document, the only semicolons that have spaces next to them are these semicolons over here in the middle, because then I want to split it in the middle, which means this will be a separate object, but this whole thing will be a whole separate object until the next semicolon, you understand? So I'll be able to split it into everything that follows the semicolon until the next semicolon. So up to that, this will be one different element in the array. And this will be one different element in the array. And this whole thing will be one different element in the array. And I found actually this was an easier way to work with it because I was able to just, once I've split this whole thing up to there, up to center, you know, because the next array, the next semicolon comes there, then I know if I go through my list and I only find the list that contains a center, this will definitely be belonging to the salary. You understand? But I did even better. I said, if I split it by the semicolon and I find the element which contains post 05 in it, everything that follows that will be, the first thing will be the title, okay? The next will be the salary. So if I can find the index of this, right? The one that follows that index will be the title. The second after that index will be the salary. The second after that index will be the location. The second after, you know what I'm saying? So actually this was the easiest way to do it. And I was very, very lucky that the document had a semicolon and that this was capitalized because I was able to specifically look for post with capitalized in it because there's post all over this, but I don't want all the posts. I want only to find the posts that are capitalized and contain 05 in it. Okay, so this really helped me. This is how I did it, and I'll take you through the code now because I know I'm talking a lot, but this is definitely, I'm just giving you background on information on how I'm going to go around doing this, okay? So this is what I did, right? So I knew that my string is going to have to contain post in 05 in it because all these documents have this title of post 05, all of them. Post 05 because they sort of follow the secular number. So if it's secular 05, they'll all have post 05. When it was secular 04, they all had, I'm going to just open in here, post 04, they all have secular 4, they all have post 04 in it. So depending on which secular you're doing, and you're going to have to write the code for the secular, or it's even better, you're going to be able to find the number from the URL itself. So this number, if you don't know what this number is, you can actually have this post 0x, for example, right? Or post 0 like that, all right? So that you don't know what this number is, and then you could say format, let's give it whatever, the circular, format the circular. If you didn't know what this number was, and then you would define the circular over there, okay? You would define the circular every code, and you will say the circular is equals to, because you know your URLs and you're fetching your URLs, every time you get your URL over here, where are we fetching our URLs? We're getting our URL list. There you go. For URL list in whatever, you have this sorry, where's the URL list? Yeah, this is the base URL in href. So this URL, once you get this URL, you can print this URL out, and then it's going to look like, where is it? Let me just copy it over there so I can bring it down here. You can paste this URL out like that, right? You'll get like 10 or 20 URLs based on how long your list is. And then you will know that if you take this URL and you split this URL, so if you take this URL and you split it, okay, you split it at this what you call it, yeah, you split it here on the slash sign, all right, and then you can count them, and you can count and you'll find which element 5 is always gonna, or this number is always gonna fall into. And if you split it, and then you'll figure out, for example, it's we can do this quickly. So let's do Python over there, and let's say our URL is equals to this, all right? So let's say we found our URL. We knew what our URL, oh, goodness. All right, let's just go up here and just delete that. Okay, so let's say we knew our URL is equals to that, right? And then we took the URL and we split it over that slash, you would get this, right? So you would count. This is the 0 element, the first one, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So if you took this and you found the 7th element over there, it's always going to be the number. And what I like is that this URL structure doesn't change. It's the same URL structure. If you look at your the website itself over here, this structure doesn't change even between the different circulars. All right, they keep the same structure. It's like the DPSA, the documents, the vacancies, they'll have the year, and then they'll have the circular number, and then they'll have the letter A, B, C, D, E, F, J, whatever it is, .pdf. So this structure does not change. And if you use this method, all right, you will always find this number, what this number is, all right? Because what you want when you write code is that you want code that you don't have to run every day. You want to write this code once, and you want this code to run every time all by itself, okay? So this code has to discover, so I know it will be split on 7, okay? This will be the circular, all right? The circular will always be that URL split on 7. And then you can put the circular in there, and then you can use it on the rest of your formula, okay? But for now, I'm not going to do it like that, all right? I'll do it like that when I write the final code, when I reach the stage where I am, deploying this application and it's running all by itself. Today, I'm going to make it simpler, and I'm going to just go back to a post string. Post string is equals to 5, because I know what it is, this specific section, and then we're going to work with it like that. All right. So if we look going through our document, and we split it on here, and we can find this in the list and find the index of this, we'll always know index +1 will be the title, index +2 will be the salary, index +3 will be the location. That's what I'm saying. All right. So that's what we're doing here. So the first thing that we do is that we define the list that we called content list. This is going to be the list where we're going to put everything. Our whole document is going to go into this list. All right. Once we've done that, we opened the file location, which is where this file is, all right? And we opened the file, we use the file reader, which we're importing at the top over here. Where's our file reader? We're gonna need to import our file reader. Okay, there it is. Copy. Let me see this. Let me undo that. I want to get my import because I want this not to have a problem, right? And then we can go back and cover that, right? All right. So the PDF file reader, we've imported it at the top over there. We open the file, and then we check how many pages we have in the document, right? We're gonna need to know how many pages we have in the document, because we have to iterate through all the pages to get the content out. So each and every document will have different number of pages. We won't always know how many number of pages are, so we have to specifically get it every time we run the code, so we can iterate through the number of pages. Once we found the number of pages, we're gonna start counting from 0, okay? And we're gonna say while we are below the number of pages, so from 0 all the way to the number of pages, we're going to run this code. This is what this is doing. It's counting from 0, and it's going to run this code while this number count is less than a pages, which pages is doc.number of pages. So while we are we're still having pages available between 0 and the final number of pages, we're going to run this code. And the code that we're running is this. We're going to define a variable called the page, which is the document get the page, all right? So get the page, which page are we getting? We're getting the page of the count, okay? And we remember we have to start by page 0, because count of 0 is actually the first page, all right? That's why we're starting the 0. So the first thing we'll do, we get the first page, all right? And then we get the text inside that page, which is the page extract text. You've seen this code before. And then once we extracted that text, I found that it was easier to remove the the new line, what you call it. I found it was easy to remove the new line elements, or characters inside of the string. It just helped me work with the string better, all right? So I'm gonna take that text that comes out of that page 0 and remove all the new line characters, all right, and replace it with an empty string. Okay, so there'll be nothing in the space of the new line, so that I just have one long line, all right? And then I'm gonna split this document on the semicolon. This is exactly what I was explaining to you. And it's very important that when you split it by the semicolon, you have spaces between the semicolon, okay? So have a space there and have a space there so that it splits the document only on the semicolons that have spaces next to them, because there is other semicolons in the document. Every time there's a title, there's a semicolon there, but this semicolon doesn't have a space next to it. And if you only split it by the semicolon, it will split the document here as well, right? So split by the semicolon that have spaces next to it. All right, and then after that, we will get a list. When you run the split function on a string, it returns a list that has been split from the character that you've given it. All right, so after that, I'm going to go through all the elements in that list that comes back. All right, and then go into the content list. All right, and append that thing. All right, so what we're doing is that we created an empty array over there at the top, and we're going through the pages. And for the first page, or for each and every single page, we extract the text. We remove all the new line characters. We split that text on the semicolon, and then after everything that has been split on the semicolon, we add to our content list as a list. So this will still be a list, but now this will be a list that doesn't, that from page to page split by the semicolon. All right, because I want to then work with this list to then be able to find specific things so that I can, develop, my object of data, right? So this is the first thing that we need to do here. All right, this took me a while to get right. Okay, I'm explaining it to you now on this video because I've already run the code, I've tested it, but I actually tried a couple of things. And when you are passing through a document, you are going to go through a process of trying a couple of things. I already explained to you, I tried splitting it on the new line, and then it was a little bit more complicated. I tried splitting it under, like from the pages. I've tried to find things to split it on, but eventually I was able to, what eventually worked was me splitting it through the semicolon. Actually, I worked an entire day trying to get this right, okay? So when you're watching this code and you're going through the video that I'm doing and the code that's gonna work for this specific document, this code is not going to work for every single document, because how you split the document and how you pass the document will depend on the formatting and what's in the document itself. So this only works because the document has what I'm splitting it on. You understand? So this is not like a formula for every document. It's just how I will be able to do this. And you would have to study your document individually and figure out what's in that document that you can work with to get the document to do what you want it, so you can get the data out. And this is a non-intelligent way of doing things, because this is very rigid way of doing things. It's not the best, but it's easy for me to explain to you, and it works without me having to think about how to do this intelligently for now. Okay, in future, perhaps when we go into AI, we might find ways to do this intelligently, but for now we're doing it in this very rigid manner. All right, so once we've done that, okay, this line of code, I will get to it later. All right, because I actually added it towards the end. It wasn't there at the beginning. I actually continued from here and went down there. So I'm going to skip this line of code and I'll bring it later, and I'll explain to you why I added it in the first place. All right, and I'll even highlight it out. All right, I'll highlight it out when I'm running this code the first time and show you why I needed to add that. All right, and take you through this process. Then I created a new list that says post list, index list. Okay, so I wanted to, these I'm going to use for something else. All right, I created these lists. All right, and then I created a list of final jobs. All right, so these are things that I'm going to work with later on. We'll come back to them. All right, now I'm iterating through the content list. The content list now is this list at the top after adding each and every single character from the document itself that has been split on the semicolon. That is what the content list is. So I'm going to go through for everything in the content list. All right, for X in content list, if post string in X, post list append X. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm now looking at what this content list, and this content list, if you remember up there, is this, for X in content list, if post string, okay, this post string over here is the post string at the top. So what I'm doing here is that I'm iterating through my list, which I created over there. All right, I'm iterating through that list, and I'm looking for variables, or I'm looking for strings which contain the post string. All right, and the post string is that string which has post number 05. So I'm searching specifically for these strings, for a string that contains that. a string that contains that post 05, because I want to find the index of that string so that I can now work from that index forward. That's only what I'm doing here. So once I've found that string, I'm adding it to a new array because I'm doing this step by step. And that will be the post list array. Then I'm going to go through that post list array and I'm going to find the index of each and every single object that has the post list on it. So you could have written this in 2 lines of code, but I split it out to make it simpler for explaining it to you now on the TV. I mean on the video. I'm doing this one thing here. I'm saying for every item inside my list at the top, inside my content list, right? I want to iterate through all of them and find only the strings which contain this post 05 in it. And then once I found those strings that contain the post 05 in it, I want to find the index of that post 05. I want to find the index that that string occupies in the total list. All right. And then I'm creating another list where I am appending that index number so that I know what that index number is, because I'm going to work from that index number to find everything else. All right. So that's what I'm doing. So now I'll have an index list, and that index list will be all the index numbers of this content list that contain this string that has post 05 in it. Because once I know what that index number is, I can now iterate through that index number, and I know that everything, that index number, all right, x plus 1 is going to be the title of the job, of the next job. Index number plus 2 is going to be the salary. Index number times 3 is going to be the whatever. Index number times 4 and so forth and so forth. So I know index number plus 2 is going to be the salary. Index number times 3 is going to be the location. Plus 4 is going to be the requirements. Plus 5 is going to be the duties. Plus 6 is going to be the inquiries. And then I can say final jobs, okay, which is that string that I made over there. Okay, so now I've created the job object over here, and that object I've put in the title, salary, location, blah 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 blah, and then I can then do the final jobs and append the object. So now this final jobs array, okay, should have each and every single object in it that that we created from this index plus as we're doing that, okay? And then if we print these final jobs, we should be able to print an array of jobs with specific title, salary, location, requirements, duties, inquiries on it as we've created it. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, okay? It looks simplistic now, but it took me a long time to come up with this code, right? So I'm going to go through it again, okay? I am opening up my PDF, all right, over here. And when I open up the PDF, I've created a list where I split the entire text of the PDF on the semicolons and add it to the list. Once I've done that, I'm iterating through the list, okay, and I'm finding all the elements in the list that contain my post string, which is this post 05. Then I know each and every single element that contains that post string. I want the index of that element because I know from that index I can work forward to get the different variables. So I've added everything in that index list over there. Once I know that index list, now I iterate through the index list. For every single item inside that index list, it represents a new job object. So I create that job object and start with the index plus 1 should be the title, the index plus 2 should be the content. So the index, if this is the index plus 1, which is the next part of the split column, should be the title. The index plus 2 should be the salary, and so forth and so forth. And I iterate all of that and end up appending the object at the end, and then I'll have now an object, an object which has all the different lists, okay? Now, I want to show you, I want to just print, let me just do something like this to show you that this code actually works, okay? I'm going to print these final jobs will be a list of objects, and each and every single object in there should be a job, okay? So I'm going to print final jobs, okay? I'm going to print final jobs, not the entire list. Let me just print the randomly, okay? The second, because at least I know all the files should have at least 3 jobs in them. I don't know. Which file am I opening? I'm opening career 7, and I don't know which career 7 is. Let's just hope it has at least more than 3 jobs in there, because some of them actually have only one, some of them have only 2. Actually, let me do this one, because and assume that it will have at least two jobs. Okay, so final jobs number 1. All right, and so this will print the second element inside this final jobs list. All right, so let me print this. So let's run this. All right, so for career 7 file, the title is this administrative officer. Okay, and it has salary at the end of it. Okay, and then the salary is this. All right, let me print this in a way that you can read this. Right, run it. There you go. So now what it's printing is printing a new line. Starts with printing a new line. And then it prints the title, the salary, the location, the requirements, the duties. All right. So it's doing that. Print the new line. This is the title. The title is that. The salary is that. All right. The location is that. The requirements are that. The duties are that, and the inquiries are that. Okay, so for this specific one, it printed it properly. All right, but I actually want to reprint this so I can show you that we're going to have a little bit of a problem, especially because of the page separation. Okay, so instead of that, I'm not going to print. I'm going to remove that. Actually, I'll just copy this, a new line, and I'm going to remove this. All right, and then I'm going to print the new line in here. All right. So that I want to print everything that comes out of this document. I want to print each and every single job out of this document so I can show you what everything looks like, right? So let's copy this again. Not everything, just up to the top here. Right. So remove what's there already, up. Nano the new file, paste it in there. Save it, and then let's run it. Python test.py. All right, so it's printing a lot. It's printing each and every single job that's in that document. All right, so the first one you'll see, that's the title, that's the salary, that's the location. Okay, that's the title, that's the salary, that's the location, the duties, that's the inquiries. The title, salary, location, requirements. All right, and duties. Okay, that's fine. Title, salary, requirements. Okay, duties, all right. Inquiries, the title, the salary, the location, the requirements, the duties, inquiries, okay. The title, salary, location, requirements, okay. Inquiries, you see, yeah, this is what I was looking for. If you go down the list, at some point you're gonna have an object like this, all right. And this object has got an error in it, all right. You'll see the title is written properly. The salary is the right way. The location is okay. The requirements, grade 12 is okay. All right. But grade 12 certificate equivalent, whatever, and you can see involved in there. This sentence sort of continues somewhere, but it's cut off, right? And then it continues over here, involved in the area of maintenance and other areas. So this sentence actually continues in the next object, right? And then the inquiries now is the wrong index number, because what happened here, you had a page break, all right? And I hope I can open this document so I can actually illustrate this to you properly. You have a page break, and if you remember, we had separated the first time, the way the documents were structured the first time, they were already separated by the page break, because when we wrote our code over here, we extracted text page by page. So if there was a page break in the middle of a job, right, naturally the next page would start with the sentence from the previous page, which would actually be the continuation of that paragraph, okay? But when we split it, okay, it is not going to split it, that paragraph, from the beginning to the end. It's actually, because the new page starts somewhere else, it's actually a different, a different index in that list, okay? So when we do index plus one, when you go to the different index, it's actually the continuation of the previous paragraph, all right? So I'm going to try and find this career 7, and I don't know which one was this 7 on post 05. I want to actually find this document so I can show this to you. Let's go into this where this document is on the actual website. So if this was careers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I hope this is the one. All right, if it's not the one, it will be that or that. So circular 05. All right, and then I want to find where this paragraph ends. Okay, I want to just copy this like this. All right, and I want to find this. Okay, so it's not this document, so maybe it's this one. Okay, find what document am I looking for? Services, copy that. All right, find. So it's not that one. So is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. All right, so it's the one before it. Okay, so you'll see this job, maintenance investigator X2 posts, right? It's this job that we're looking at. So let me highlight it again for you, right? So maintenance investigator X2 posts is this one over there. Maintenance, the salary is this 257 to 303. All right, it's 257 to 303. The location is that, the requirements is that, the duties is that, right? But you'll see the requirements end in one page and they continue in another page. So when we were collecting the PDF the first time, we were collecting it page by page. So this page was one page and this was another page. And when we added these pages and we split it by this, already this was a different, it was not split on here because it was split by the page, right? So this was a different, it was a different, element in the array, and this was already a different element in the array, even though it wasn't split by this, but it was split by the page. All right, because data was structured that way. Therefore, when we are doing what we're doing here, where we are saying we just adding, the array plus 3, the index plus 3, the index plus 4, the index plus 5, every time we're doing index plus from here, when we say index plus this to get the requirements, and we say index plus the next index, which is this one, to get the duties perhaps, actually it gets the rest of the paragraph, right? Because the next index is just a continuation of the paragraph, which is what it's doing here. So when we're trying to get the inquiries, which should actually technically be, the next thing, where's the duties? From the duties, sorry. So from the duties, when we're trying to get the inquiries, which should be the next thing, we're actually getting the continuation of that paragraph, and therefore we're getting an error. So these are not the inquiries. All right, so this is the continuation of that paragraph. So we're going to have a problem everywhere there's a page split. And it happens in just a few jobs, not all the jobs. You'll see every job I searched until this one, we didn't have an issue. And the next one is not going to have a problem because the next one starts there. And provided everything works without a page break over here, we're not going to have an issue with this job. And every other job that doesn't have a page break, we're not going to have an issue. And if the page break is slightly small, the client might not even notice that there was a page break over there because this is going to be correct. You understand? So to fix this problem is why I added this extra line of code. Okay, so it took me a while, and with you as well, when you're doing this by yourself, you will see that you're going to iterate through this many times. You're going to find little things that creep out at the end, where there's problems. And this is a process of passing through a document rigidly, all right? And people, do this all the time. So what I did over here, right? I'll explain this code to you. For X in content list, right? So I went through my list, right? And I tried to find, if not X split, whatever, -1. So what is this line doing? All right. Okay. So for X in content list, if I split X, okay, so for every single element in my list, all right, if I split that element, and here I'm not explaining what I'm splitting it on, so it will just split word by word, okay? If the last word, okay, is not an uppercase. So for this, for example, if I split, this element in the array, where is it? This is what I'm highlighting over there, right? So you'll see that each and every single element ends with the title for the next one. because that's how we split it, all right? So we split by this, which means this whole chief clerk up to salary is one element in the array, and then there's a semicolon. But we know that this, although this is the last word in this array, it is the title of the next one. But because of the way this document is structured, the last word in every array is going to be an uppercase letter, because that's going to be the title of the next one. You understand? So I'm going to go through my file and make sure that each and every single, so what this does is that if you split this this string, and splitting by -1 is going from the back, okay, and -1 is going to be the last word in that string. If the last word is upper, right? So if the last word is an uppercase, we are good, all right? But if it's not an uppercase, so this is actually a not at the beginning there. So we are checking for the negative of this statement. We are checking that the last word inside of the array is not an uppercase. And in cases like this, where it's going to be splitting, not split by what we want to split it by, it's splitting actually by the page break, the last word is not going to be an array. This one is not going to be an uppercase. This last word is an uppercase, that's an uppercase, that's an uppercase, that's an uppercase. Everything is an uppercase if it's split by the semicolon. Because if it's split by the semicolon, technically it's going to end over there, before the next semicolon. So if it's split properly the way we designed it to split, okay, the last word is going to be an uppercase letter. But if it's split because of a page break, like that, all right, the last word is not going to be an uppercase, all right? So I'm looking for those elements which the last word is not an uppercase. That's what I'm saying. If not, split -1 is upper. This is finding each and every single element inside of the content list where the last word is not an uppercase, all right? And also, post string doesn't exist in there, because actually this will also pass the test, because this is also not going to pass the upper because it has a number in it, okay? So we want to get everything that is not an uppercase, but only the ones which don't have the post string in them, because this post string will also pass that test, because post string -05 is not an upper. So this whole sentence that ends over there, it was split properly, but if we check for the last word in that whatever, it's not going to pass the upper test because it's got numbers in it. It only passes this upper test if everything is an uppercase. So we don't want to include this in what we're looking for, right? So if the words, if the sentence or the string does not end with an uppercase and it doesn't contain our post string, which is this, okay, then we want to do something to it, all right? We're going to find the index and the next index, okay? And then if the next index is not the last index, because also the last, there's a lot here, the very last part, the last string will actually also pass this test, because this last thing will also not end with an uppercase, all right? So what we're doing here, we are just testing that we are still within the list, all right? Because if it was the last index in the list, this next index would be greater than the length of the list, right? So we are just doing a quick test over here to make sure that it's not the last element of the list, all right? So if this is the case, all right, so if this passes that, do nothing about it. But if it doesn't pass it, we're actually going to combine this index and the next index into one string. So what we're doing here is that we're going to say, if this doesn't end with an uppercase and it's not, and it doesn't include it doesn't include this post 05 in there, and it's also not the last thing in the list, all right? If that's the case, we actually want to take the index plus 1 and combine it with the index and make it one string, all right? So what we're doing over here is that we are taking that index, and it's a content list, the index at x, because everything that passes this test will be that index at x. And then we're going to find the x index, which is going to be the index at x plus 1. So we're going to find that index and the next index. Okay, so we're going to find the two things which are split and they're not split by the semicolon. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to add them together into one string. All right, and then we're going to remove the next one. So after we've added them into one string, we're going to remove the next index. We're going to remove the content list at the next index. Right? So this is what this code is doing. It's going through the whole list, and it's finding where the thing is not ending by uppercase, and it's taking this and this and it's combining it into one, and then it's removing that, right? So I'm gonna enable this code in here, all right, and then I'm gonna print this again and make sure that we're not having this problem anymore, all right? Actually, let me print it up to there, all right? Let me print this whole thing. So let's start by removing what was there first. Let's put in the new code, which includes this new paragraph, which I had taken out. And then we're going to close this file, save the buffer, yes. And then we're going to run it, Python test the P1. All right. So we need to find, if you recall what was there before, if I'll be able to find it. What job was it? What job number was it? Okay, yeah, let's find it here. So it was over here. So I'm gonna copy this. Let me just copy that. All right. Let me see if I can search in here as well, because it's gonna be hard for me to try and, yeah. So let me search in there. The next one. So this is the last one. The first time it was. So this is the one I just showed you now. All right. So let's search the next one. There you go. Now this is the new one that we just printed now. If you see, this is the end. All right. And we just ran it now over here. Okay. This was the previous one. This is the next one. All right. And if we find where we are, we have now combined those two things. Okay. So this job that was title maintenance investigator X2 post salary, which was this one over here, investigator X2 posts. All right. The salary was 257,303. All right. In the center. And this was split by the involved in there. Okay. It was split there. All right. It was split over there. Involved in there. Where is it? I've now removed it. And the requirements were split in, well, it was the duties that were split into, and then we didn't have the inquiries set properly because now this was filling in the space of the inquiries. Now, if you look at the duties go all the way to the draft investigation reports, which takes everything from, the requirements go everywhere from there, involved in there up to there, and the duties are, correct. And then the inquiries are correct, which is Mr. Dewey, telephone number 051, which is this one over here. Okay, so before, if you recall, if we can go back, okay, and look at the last one, we had the duties wrong because this was the continuation of that, and then we didn't have the inquiries. This was actually the duties, all right? And if you go forward, you will see now the requirements are correct, and we appended that sentence and we removed the next element in the array, and then the duties key personnel is recorded properly, all right, and the inquiries are recorded properly. So there's many things you can do to to go through this code and find, and I think this is where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to be happy with this because I've gone through this and I found many other improvements, but we're not going to have time to do everything in this video, all right? So for now, I'm going to be happy with what we're doing over here, all right? So what I'm going to run now is I'm going to run this code once off again to collect all the files all at once, download them, extract all that information, build, because now I'm just building this. I'm not adding it to the database. I'm building it and I have to run this code every time to build it. But what I can do is that I can run this code and after I've collected this object, instead of printing it out for you to see over here, so instead of printing this, once I have this index list, I'm going to now go and add it into our database. Okay, so I'm going to build a new file that allows me to do that, and then we're going to check that this thing exists in our database the way it should. All right, so we'll do that in a bit. So at the bottom of the file, instead of printing that document, I've added simple code for saving files into the database. Okay, so for test jobs and final jobs, it's gonna iterate through these final jobs, and instead of printing, it's gonna run this line of code. All right, you'll see that the user is I'm gonna be importing the user object at the top over here. The user is gonna be imported from where is it? I have to import the user from Django contrib authored models, and then I have to import all the Django jobs models, import everything, and then I'll be able to then get the company and the category model, and then find the specific company user that I want to save this under, and then I just create a new object. I just sort of create this function jobs objects create, and then I save an object. It sounds simple enough, but first of all, we need to have this company and this category created. All right. So I'm going to just Python. I'm going to run server here. So I need to do manage.py, run server, and then I need to run it on port 8000. And I want to just show you something. So if you go quickly into our admin, into our admin database, you'll see that under jobs we had these categories and companies. These were, we're going to save specific job categories and specific companies under here. All right. And if you look at our models, our job models.py file, we went through this earlier in the lecture where I showed you this company model that we had to create and this category model that we had to create. All right. And I showed you that when we come to creating the job model, we're going to be creating a foreign key that's related to the company and the foreign key that's related to the category. And this was always the foreign key that's related to the owner, which is the user that's creating the job. All right. This is why we have over here these foreign keys. All right, we have to get these things and then create them, which means that before we can proceed, we need to know what user we're working with. And I'm going to just use myself as the admin of Scholar Online. I'm going to be the user that's creating this job. All right. And then the company category, but we hadn't created a company category before, right? So off camera, and I was testing this, I went to companies and categories. All right, so under company, I just sort of went and added a new company, and then I added this company over here that's called government jobs. I think I'm gonna group all the government jobs under one company, so the people who are searching for government as a company, and they can search for government jobs in there. I think that will be simpler to do it that way. All right, and then under government jobs, I just added the title is government jobs. All right, and then I just added a quick description for apply for government jobs, blah blah blah, and I added the different departments within the government, and I just copied this from their website over here. I just copied all of this, and then I added this as the different departments: fisheries, government communication, blah blah blah. And then this unique ID I didn't create myself, is going to be created when I save the document. So the only thing I added over there was government jobs description, and then I chose a file with a logo. Right, for the file with the logo, I just went on their website and I downloaded their flag over there. All right, and then after that, I added that as a file for the logo that's going to be representing the company. And all of this I didn't add. This was saved, was created automatically. If you look at the model that we made over here, you'll see that the SEO keywords and the SEO description is going to be saved. Where is it? Over here under company. The SEO keywords is going to be created when you save the whatever. So the only thing I really had to specify is just the title and the description and add a logo. And then after that, all of these were created, the unique ID and the slug and all of that were created when I saved the object. Okay, I did it off camera to make sure that it works, but it should be able to work for you as well. Right, so that's the first one. And then under categories, I did the exact same thing. I also just created one category for company, for government jobs, and I just sort of made it the same thing to just simplify things. Okay, but in your application, you might want to have a category for, I don't know, full-time jobs, part-time jobs, whatever it is. Create different categories that you want. But for me, to simplify things, I just made a category under government jobs. So government jobs is a company, but it's also a category. So if somebody is searching via categories, they could be searching for jobs that are government related, or they could be searching for companies that is the government. All right. So I created it that way, and then I know what my unique ID is. All right, so that after I've saved it and I go to the edit page, I'll be able to find my unique ID, and I'm doing all of this in the admin panel. So this unique ID is the one that I'm using over here when I'm saying company objects get that unique ID. All right, so I created, first of all, the thing in the admin panel. After I created it, I saved it, and then from the way I've written my function, it's going to create a unique ID for me. Then once I've done that, I'm going to go and use that unique ID to then pull out that instance of the company, that instance of the job. So I was able to say company get this one, and then categories get these ones, and then I'll have the company, the category that I want to save this under. Okay, so this is how I did this. And then after that, I went new job, jobs.create. If you want to know where I got this from, this is from their Django documentation over there. When you want to create a new job, you can just sort of say, whatever it is, the class, objects create, and then you add all the variables that need to go in there, right? So this is the class that I'm creating it under, objects create, and then I'm going to add all of this, and you'll see the way I've added it in here. So when I was running this, I've already tested this, and there's a couple of glitches that I ran into, and I just want to highlight them to you. If you've been following along, very, very important that you don't miss these glitches, because you're going to have the same errors that I had the first time, okay? So the first problem that I experienced was there was something wrong with my Slugify function, all right? I overlooked, I typed this 2 times, and then it was giving me an error. So just double check your Slugify function over here. If you had copied everything I had done, there's going to be an error with that. You need to make sure that when you Slugify, this brackets, they match the what is over there. Okay, that was the first error that I got. And then the second error that I got was that when you're saving this, right, I wasn't able to access from inside the save function, for example, the foreign key. So if I wanted to say company.title and I wanted to specify that, I think, and I had it inside of the job description and the SEO description, the keywords, I wanted to include the title, and the way I was going to get the titles, that I was going to get it from the company title. So I wanted to be able to say, self.company.title inside of the save function. Okay, that doesn't work, because inside of the save function, you haven't actually created the company yet, because you're still saving it, all right? So the company doesn't exist. It's still a null. It's only going to exist after you've saved it. So the foreign keys, you can't access them inside of the save function. I overlooked that when I was writing this code, all right? So those are the things you need to correct. If you have any references to a foreign key inside of the save function, you won't be able to access it because it hasn't been created yet. It's only going to be created after the save function, and if you're accessing it inside of the view or somewhere else, you would be able to, all right? So any references to the user, if you wanted to use the username or the user to first name, last name, whatever, to save something in here, you just need to go ahead and remove that, because that's not going to work, and that gave me a couple of errors in there, all right? So you need to fix that. And then what else gave me some errors? All right, so the other thing that gave me errors as well is that I just added this null is equals to true pretty much everywhere, okay? Especially because I need to, depending on the data that I'm getting, I don't know if my data is going to have the date posted, so all of these categories are not going to always be applicable for each and every single job that I get, because some jobs I'm going to be getting from the government website, and the government website only gives me a requirements and a duties and an inquiries. It doesn't, for example, give me a date created, and it doesn't give me a closing date. The closing date is there somewhere if you read through, but it's and especially when you're going to be scrapping data, you don't know what you're always going to be getting, all right? And if you haven't specified null, true, and blank is equals to true, when you come to saving over here and you don't specify those variables, you're going to have an error in the saving, because it's going to say, what is that variable? You didn't specify that the null is equals to true, okay? So what I did is I went through everything and I just said, you know what? All of these things are nullable, okay? I'm not worried about, except for the unique ID, of course. But I still have it as nullable, because I want to be able to create this the first time, and I'm only maybe creating the unique ID at the end, all right? And it's not a problem if there's no unique ID the first time. I know that in my function, I'm checking for the nullability of the unique ID, and I'm creating it in the save override of the save function. So inside of the model itself, I've allowed it to be nullable, all right, so that I can save this initially or create this and then add it in the overriding of the function. I know in a proper application, you would not want your unique ID to be null. It's not going to be, because I've managed it under here. So even though I've made it that way, right? So just go through all your variables, and just for safety, I've made sure that everything is nullable, all right? And then I'll manage it myself, how I deal with it. And then the second thing as well is the maximum length. Okay, this was giving me a bit of an error. I think I had a field in here. It was just an oversight. One of the fields, I think it was requirements, and I had, a maximum length of 100, not type. It was somewhere, one of these fields, all right? So I had to go back and increase all my maximum length, okay? Because some of the things were coming out, giving me errors because of the maximum length. So I have all my maximum lengths at 100, except for here where I have choices, and I know what my choices are, and I know what the maximum length will be, all right? And I know that I'm the one sort of entering this data. I'm not worried about clients coming in and entering a title that is 500 characters long, okay? So for now, I changed all of that, and just to give my code a little bit of flexibility. So just go through, if you're copying my code line for line, just have a look at those those couple of things, that I've mentioned inside of the save function, and also the maximum length. But if you have errors, going through errors and debugging is a normal journey of a developer, right? You're going to go through it. I don't want to go through all of the details in this video and overextend it. And so I'm highlighting those errors to you now so that you can find them that were in my code before. But dealing with errors is normal. So whatever error you get, you come back, you fix it, and then you're good to go, right? So I've done all of that. So I'm ready to now test this, all right? So I've tested it, and I think, let me just make sure that I've deleted that entry that I had to put in, because I'd put in one entry under jobs. All right, and I think I've deleted it, so it's not there anymore, because I'm gonna now go through everything and save all my jobs into my database. I'm gonna do this one by one. In reality, when we are deploying, we're gonna find a way to get this function to run automatically, like on a loop. Maybe every week it's gonna run and save the things in the database. But for today, because we're doing this for the first time and we're still in development mode, we're running this function manually. But as long as the function works, to take it into a loop that is going to be running it automatically is going to be simple, all right? So the first thing that I want to do over here is that I want to start with careers 1. So I'm going to be changing this manually one by one, all right? And making sure that I get all the files right. But in reality, you're going to do something different. You're going to, keep a record of how many files you have somewhere, and then be able to go through the list of that to be done automatically. And we're going to cover all of this when we reach the deployment stage, where we're going to be getting these functions to run on their own in a loop. But for now, because we're running them manually, we're doing things manually, all right? So I'm going to stop this. And I'm going to clear this, and I just want to list, and I want to ls so that I can cd into my data, all right? And then I want to just ls minus l in here so I can see all the files that's in here, all right? So you have careers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you have 10, and then you have 11, 12, up to 16, all right? So I have 1 up to 16, and I'm going to run it one by one just for control, all right? I won't run all of it on camera, but in reality, because I don't want to get issues, I'm running this for the first time. I haven't tested it. So let's start with careers 1, all right? And then at the end over here for test and final jobs, we're going to run all of that, and maybe we can even, instead of calling the database every time, all right, we can actually have these outside of for test in there. We can have these run once. We can even at the top here, so that these don't run inside of the loop, all right? So we call the user just once, and then inside here, then we're going to be calling the, putting them into the database over there like that, all right? And then this should save everything which is inside of this document careers 1 PDF, all right? So let me copy all of this, right? Up to there. All right, and I'm going to, let me clear this. Let me remove whatever was inside test.py, all right? So there's nothing in there. So I'm going to nano test.py like that. And I'm gonna paste that and then save there. All right, so I want to just show you something quickly. If I run python test.py, if I do this, I'm going to get an error. All right, so it's going to say to me it cannot import the module jobs. All right, it cannot import that. All right, so because I'm trying to say from jobs.models import that, and right at the beginning it's saying that from jobs.models import, we cannot import this because you are running this Python file outside of the Django environment, all right? So it doesn't have actually access to your models and everything outside of the Django environment. What you need to do is to run it inside of the Django shell, all right? So you need to say Python. You can't access the model. You can run everything else except the models in the database. You have to run them inside of the shell. And this is one of the limitations with Django, actually. In a lot of my applications, when I get to this point, I actually don't like to build them in frameworks like Django because of these specific limitations. If I wanted to add things in the database and write a script somewhere else, I wouldn't be able to do it, all right? So Python manage.py run server, not run server, shell. So we're calling the shell over here. Okay, so you can't do it in here, sorry. So let's cd out of there. Sorry, I was running this completely not even in the manage.py. So even when I'm here with the manage in the root of the directory and I tried to python test.py, I'm still going to get an error. All right, python test.py, but it's a different error now. It's trying to say Django core exceptions improperly configured installed apps. It can't find the thing. Okay, but the same reason that I just explained to you earlier on, this is the error that I was already expecting, is that it's actually we're running outside of the Django environment. We have to be inside of the Django environment to run, to be able to access the database and to be able to access the models, all right? So it's trying to look for the installed, it's trying to look for the settings, it's trying to look for the, for the environment, but you can't find it, all right? So let's clear all of this and do python manage.py, and we're gonna open up the shell, all right? So now this is similar to writing Python at the top there. You're opening up a Python shell, but now you're opening it inside of the Django environment, all right? Of your app environment, the specific app environment that you're in, the project that you're working from. And then from over here, I've copied the code for myself over there so that it's easy for me to remember what I need to type over there. All right, so I'm opening test.py, reading it, which means I'm actually just running the file inside of the file. Running the content inside of the file instead of now opening the shell and trying to type all this line by line by line. Well, it's going to be too long, but you could do it that way if you're running like simple code. But I've written it in a whole file. Okay, and I want to run that file. Okay, inside of the file. This won't work for production, but for development and what we're trying to do here, showing you it's all right. So let's run that. All right. So it ran without errors. I had tested it before and made sure that I didn't have errors. But how do we know that this ran? Because if this ran properly, at the end of this file, it should have saved all of this in our database. All right. So let us exit out of this shell. Okay. So let's do the exit like that. All right, and then let's run our application, python manage.py, run server. All right, 1 2 3 4 on 8000 port. Sorry, 8000, not 800. Okay, so let's then go back to our database. Remember, there was nothing in here. I'm just going to refresh this page and see if there's new jobs in here now. All right, senior whatever salary and all of that. So it's only one job, and that's a bit of a let me see what's wrong with my code. All right, test job, infinite jobs, new jobs is equals to that test job. So let me just see find. All right, so I'm just gonna go and check that this really only had one job in it. Okay, so for me to check that, I'm gonna go in here. All right, and basic education, that's the first one. All right, that should be the first one that's saved in there. Let me just have a look in there. It's definitely more than one job, so something is not right with my code. Let me just go through it again. All right, let me close this and let me have a look at this file that I'm running over there. Which file is it? Nano test.py. Right. Yeah, that's the problem. So this what I'm running is not the correct one, right? So let me you see this is, I didn't replace the code in there with this code that I want to run. It's actually getting a specific final jobs and it hasn't updated. All right, so I need to close this. Control X. All right, and I need to remove this test.py. All right, remove that test.py, and then open a new one, a blank one, and then I need to paste what I have in here. All right, which is careers 1 and everything in there. All right, so I need to paste that in there. So I was running the wrong file. And then before I do that, I actually want to just come in here. Let me run server and delete that from the database. So that's python manage py. All right, so I just want to delete this. right? Delete this from the database. Go. Yes, I'm sure I want to delete it. And then there's nothing in there. Okay, so I want to run this on a clean database with nothing on it because I don't want the job to be duplicated when I get to it. So once I've done that, I'm going to then close this, clear that, all right, and then Python manage.py, open my shell again, all right, and then I'm going to now run this test function in there. All right, let's run that in there, see what happens. All right, then I'm going to exit out of this, and then I'm going to do Python manage.py. And I'm going to have a look at my database again. Yeah, and this time I should have all the jobs from the first file. So if I go to the first file, let me just count them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the first job should be this assistant director, coordinate secretariat, support. So if I come over here, the first job should be that one. Okay, deputy director, office director, general secretarial report. Where is that? So 0501, it's this deputy director general with this 1.5 million salary. Let's see, deputy director general. Where is it? Deputy director general. So this is going according to a different, deputy director general. So the order is not so it's not from so the first one is the one at the bottom here. So deputy director general is this one over here. All right. So if we open it and look at this job, you'll see the requirements are there, the duties are there, the inquiries are there, and you'll see the slug calculated properly. The SEO description is the way that I have it in there. All right. And then the SEO keywords is what I have in there as well. All right. So so it looks like everything is saving properly into our database. All right. Okay. So what I've done is that I've managed to run this code manually. I had to do it manually to go through all the documents that I have saved from careers 1 to careers 12. So I manually just would change this 1 to a 2 to a 3 to a 4 and then run the code, and then every time it's gonna save all the jobs in there. In reality, you're not gonna do this. In reality, you're going to write Python code that actually does this for you automatically. So and we're gonna do that when we're gonna get to that when we get to deployment and get that into detail. But there is value in doing this manually, okay? One of the important things is that when you do this manually, you get to see the kind of errors that arise. And even though your code worked for one document, when you do it manually through all the documents, I found at least 2 other documents where the code didn't work for, okay? So I got 2 types of errors. The first error that I got was a data error where one of the fields was too longer than what's available inside of my model, the maximum length. Okay, so it gives out a data error. And if you're running this programmatically and you had it on a loop, it will break out of that loop and and then it will stop running. Okay. And then the second error that I got was an error for an index error. So where in here specifically, that index doesn't exist. All right. So there's ways to get around the index error. The index error, obviously, you want to check that index exists before you do that. So you can write code to do that. But alternatively, you can when you're putting this inside a loop, that is going to be running this code, for example, every 2 days or every week. You could put it in a loop that works like this in Python. You can have like a try loop, try, and then you run some code in here, do whatever, and then you'll have except. I think it's like that. You run that code except if something happens, and then in your exceptions, you would put in your, data error and your index error, and then you would tell it what to do when those errors arise. But you wouldn't know what those errors are that were going to arise because you don't want to do except any type of error, because you need to specifically know if you're going to say any type of error, you could end up having big problems. So you need to go through this manually, I think, initially, especially in the development stage, to figure out what are the problems with the code so that you can fix your code. For example, your index error is easily fixed in here by doing a check for the index exists, and then telling it what to do if that index doesn't exist. So you wouldn't even have to manage it in the try loop, but you might want to manage, for example, the data error in the try except loop, because it just means that whatever you're getting in there is too long to fit into the database that you have. So maybe you just want to pass and skip that job. Maybe it's going to be one job out of 100 jobs, and you can skip it and not add it into your database. But if you didn't have that in the exceptions, it would just crash your whole code. So you need to find what those exceptions are so that you can write code to manage them. But nonetheless, I did this manually, okay, and this is the data error. There it is over there. So I did this basically manually for everything, and I imported all the files, all right? And now I'm running the server, okay? And if you go to your database now and just restart it, all right, for all the jobs, you'll see now all the jobs have been added for at least the 16 documents. And if you have time, you can actually go through last week's jobs, because you might find the last week's jobs, the ones which came out in here in this circular 4, you might find some of them are still relevant because they only were released on the 5th of February. Okay, so you might even want to add these as well, and you'll make your database even richer. So the links for this is just going to be up there. You're going to just replace that. Where are the links? When you get to the top there, you're going to replace that 5 with a 4. And then you're going to go through A, B, C, D, whatever, and all of them, and you're going to save all of them, all right? The same way we did it over here. So, it's up to you how you're going to play around with this, but this is the process I went through too. But if you want to get data from a website, okay, I've picked this one. There's many websites you could do, and I'm probably going to, in the process of the next coming weeks, scrap more websites. Okay, so and for every website you scrap, you're gonna have to write different code for it. All right, so I'm gonna write many more. I'm gonna scrap many more websites, but I'm gonna start with this one because I found this one was easier to work with. All right, so this is the Vodacom careers portal website. All right, and I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna get all the jobs that they've got in here. This is the list of the vacancy list, 1 to 34. All right, so I'm going to scrap all these jobs that are here. These are upside jobs, and I'm going to show you how to get the details and add it to your database. Scrapping is way easier than going through a PDF, and you'll see why, right? So the first URL that we're going to start with is this careers Vodacom, Vodacom plus vacancies URL, because this is a URL that shows the list. And then from here, we're going to find the different links, and then we're going to then go into those links separately. All right. I don't want to cover this in too much detail. I've already done a tutorial on web scraping. Okay. So I'm going to go through this very, very quickly. So I've got a file here that I call Abson. All right. And you'll see this is the URL that we're going to be working with. All right. And then from this URL, we're going to be using Beautiful Soup and requests. So make sure that you got Beautiful Soup and requests installed in your computer, all right? Then after you've done that, we are going to, get the URL. And then after that, we are going to find the table. And the table that we're going to find is a table that, that has all the anchors. Wait, sorry. The first thing we're going to do is that we're going to pass that URL and get the content, all right? And then from that content, we're going to get Beautiful Soup and HTML parser. So after that, we're going to look for all the anchors, all right, that have a class of job title link, all right? And these are found is the anchors the specific anchors that we're looking for, all right? And actually, let me just run this code and say print table, all right? And so you can see what's happening here, all right? So I'm going to stop this. All right. Control C. So clear, your whole whatever, clear everything that was in there, and just remove the current. So let's just list and see where we are. We are in the place where the manage.py and the test file is, because we're going to be running our code in here, just to test it all out. So let's remove the current test.py. Remove the current test.py file. All right, and then create a new one, test.py file, and then we're gonna paste that over there, and we're gonna close this and just run this by saying Python test.py, and you'll see you're getting a list of anchors with job title link. All right, how did I figure out that I need to be looking for job title link and anchors? Please go and look at my web scraping tutorial so I don't waste your time here now. So we have found all the links here that have the job title link, and we have all the links that are now going to be leading towards the new page. So all we have to do is to click on that link, and it's going to lead us to the detailed page. All right. So if you look at the website, if you click on the link, for example, it's going to lead us to the detailed page. And when we get to the detailed page, we are going to scrap the detailed page. All right. What's in here? Position has been filled. All right. So let me just see over the specialist meal reporting has been filled. All right. Let's open another one. All right, and then this is the detailed page. You'll see everything that goes in here. I've already done my homework to figure out how to scrap this page, and this is what we have over here in this code over there. So assuming I have a link, which I'm going to get from there, all right? Assuming I have a link, the job URL, you'll see the link that we get is going to be looking like this. It's going to be like --Vodacom senior specialist or whatever. This is going to be the href that we get inside of the href. Okay, so you need to sort of append the base URL to the link, and that's what we're doing here. So we're going to a job URL. It's going to be the base URL plus the link.href, so the href part of the link. And then after that, we're going to now scrap that whole website, and then we're going to look for the title. We found that there's only one h1 tag, and that's going to be the title. Okay, so that was easy to get. All right, and then the country is going to be in here. I've already checked this, so we know how to find the country, the date posted, the full time, the contract type, and all the paragraphs that go in here. But I found that there was no consistency in how they, like you see, this is a role purpose, this is like a ideal candidate, these are the requirements and all sorts. But I found that all the pages were different. There was no specific tag that they were using for all of this. So it was hard to to figure out where the responsibilities are going to go, because there was no consistency in the HTML. And this is the worst nightmare of a web scraper, is to find that the HTML is so random. And I think some developers do it on purpose to discourage people like us from scrapping their website. They just randomize the CSS, and then everything just looks different every time. But the way I got around that is that one thing that was consistent was that all the text was inside of a paragraph tag. All right. So inside the div, they put all the text in a paragraph tag. So I just pulled out all the paragraph tags within this div. So from this div that starts over here at the top to the end, I just pulled out all the paragraphs. And then I'm going to just append the paragraphs together. And then I'm going to just have one long description that way. And I think the clients on my website will get all the information they need. All right. And then I'm going to pull out the link. You'll see that I have the link over there. I want people need to know what the link is. Okay, so the job URL, they need to know what the link is, and let me just see that. So the job URL, we need to add it over here. So we're gonna say the job. Let me just have a look at my model to see where the URL goes. It goes into the URL link. All right. So the job URL link is equals to job URL. All right, and I just need to make sure that I get it covered over here or as well at the bottom, but we'll get to this later, so I don't forget it. Okay, look at the model again, URL link, copy that in there, and go in there and paste that. So URL link is going to be equals to artist job URL link. Okay, I'm just doing that. We'll get to that code later, so I don't forget to add it into the database, because we need the URL. People will be able to click on the URL from our website, and it will take them directly to here, and then they'll be able to apply for the job on the Vodacom website. All right. And something that worried me a little bit is this that I clicked. This wasn't there before. Where was it? This M&I reporting. There's something that I clicked on, and the job wasn't available. It just said a new tab. Was it this one? The position was filled. There's one that we just clicked on now, and the position was filled. I think I closed it. So basically, we're gonna have to make our code a little bit more versatile. That if something doesn't exist, like for example, the title. I don't know what it was. Let me just check all of these and find out which one it is, because I need to figure out what the structure is like so I can find it. Right, it was a short one. Specialist reporting. Yeah. Sorry, this position has been filled, this one. You'll see there's no title in here. Everything has just been replaced with that. So what I'm going to do to make my code a little bit more versatile, I'm just going to say, let me look at it again. Okay, and page source. Let me just find title. Reporting title is there. All right, and then let me look for what is the other thing I'm looking for. So this title, it will find it, but will it find the div with this display token? I think this will not be there. Right, so let me look for this. No, inside of the source code, let me find that. All right, so this will not exist. Okay, so let me just put it in there. If the divs is that, all right, and this doesn't exist, we're gonna have to find a way to say parse. Okay. All right, so what is it doing here? Okay, it ran a little bit. Principal specialist was there. The date posted, so that's wrong. The date posted is correct. So something's just wrong with the print statement, all right? Full-time, part-time is full-time, contract time is permanent. What's wrong with this? Type error can only concatenate strings, not bytes. Okay, all right, so when it came down here to having to add the strings together, it cannot do that. Okay, so to fix that error, what I did was that I removed that whole this is the line that we had before that was giving the error. Description was we were adding the p text and we encoding the string. Okay, so you just remove the encode of the string. Okay, so just delete that and just have it as the description is you're just concatenating the p dot text, and then once you have it as a string over there, then we're gonna print it out, and then we're gonna add it to our whatever, to our whole the job object, which is this one that we've been adding stuff to. So what we've been doing is that we've been adding the title, the location, the date posted, the job type, and we've been printing it out at the same time. So we are adding items to this object, but we're also printing it out so we can see what it looks like. So I'm gonna recopy this again as it is, and I'm gonna get over here, and I'm gonna first of all remove what's there, and then I'm gonna put in what I've just added here and close this file and save that, and then I'm gonna run it with Python and see. All right, so what we see over here is that at the top there, you'll see that the date posted is so it's typing here the date posted is, but I think this date posted is twice, so this should actually be the location. I forgot to fix this, the location, but it doesn't matter. So the first part is going to be displaying the location of the country. So the location is South Africa. Then the date posted is 11th of February. So that's the one here. The second date posted, which is displaying date posted, which is this, what we got from here. All right. So that's that. And then the full-time or part-time, it's what we have over here. Print full-time or part-time, and then print this full-time or part-time, which we get from this part of our HTML. All right, so full-time or part-time is that one. It's a permanent. It's full-time, and then it's a permanent job. And then this is what I was talking about. So the whole arrangement over here keeps changing every time. So the whole arrangement is always different. So what I've done, I've just pulled out all the paragraph tags and then concatenated them. All right, so what you're seeing over here is that I'm just saying paragraphs is this body, which I know is divs at 5. I want to just find all the paragraphs, and then I'm going to create a new string. I'm going to concatenate it all together, and I'm going to just add all the paragraphs together into one long string, and I'm going to call that the description. So that's what I'm doing here. So all of this is just the description, and we're going to post it like that on the job, all right? So to develop, facilitate all of that, obtaining group approval, whatever's, so this entire section, all the way from here, this is the description. All right, so these are all the different paragraphs in there. I've just added them all together, all right, into one. And I think if a client reads this, whoever it is, will be able to know what this is all about. And then finally, it's printing for me the object. All right, so this is the object that is printing for me. All right. diversity, inclusion, wara wara, and then you have all these, I don't know, I need to find a way to remove all this sort of these characters. But currently it looks like it's okay. All right, and then we're going to try and see if we are going to be able to save this into the database. All right. So so what we're going to do now, provided we don't get errors with all these characters, I'm going to remove all the print statements over here. All right, I don't need to print these anymore. I was just printing so that you can have a visual of what's happening in the background, so you can just sort of see what we're collecting as we are collecting it. Okay, but when you run this code, we don't need to be printing it every single time on the computer. We're gonna run it. We've printed it once to check everything runs and works well. All right, and let me see, there's no more print statements over there. I've deleted them all. So this, if you run this function job scan, it's gonna return an object, all right, of the job. All right, so I'm not gonna run it here like this. What I'm gonna do instead is I'm going to do what I did, similar to what I did over here. Where is it? Yeah, similar to what I did over here, where I was, is it in here? No. Yeah, similar to, geez, where's my stuff? Okay, I can't find it now. Government jobs, did I delete it? Oh, there it is. Similar to what I did over here, where I saved the stuff into our database. So now that I know that I'm getting the information, I want to save it into the database. So if I go back to my APSA file, we're going to import the models at the top. Okay, we're going to import the user model. We're going to create an element of final jobs. All right, then we're going to say for X in the table, and this table is that table over here. All right, so this table, so we'll copy this entire thing. Okay, so we'll run all of this and get this table. All right, so for all the links inside the table, we're going to run this job scan function, which is this function over there. All right, and we're going to run it, and with that link X. All right, and that link X is going to be like the entire a tag which fits into this table. All right, so it's going to be the entire a tag which includes the href, and remember when you get over here, that's where we're going to be able to pull out the link href. All right, so we're going to run it like that for everything in the table. Run that job scan function, and then final jobs append the job. Okay, so we're going to again create an array of jobs that's going to fit in here. So once we have that array of jobs, then we're going to collect the user, the company. All right, and then after we've done these, we're not going to now save this under government jobs, so we need to fix this. We're going to need to create new profiles for our APSA user. And then after that, we're going to be able to save this. And you'll see the values I'm saving here is different from what I was saving over there. So under government jobs, I say title, location, requirements, duties. And over here, I'm saving different things. I'm saving location, contract type, because that's the information I've got. I can only save the information I'm being given. That is why I wanted my job model class to be a bit more flexible, to have certain, a mix of available variables, but make everything sort of blankable or nullable in a way that if the data that I'm getting does not have it, I don't have to enter it. And then when it gets to the display part on the front end, I'm going to figure a way to display things only if they exist. All right, so this is going to make my model a little bit more flexible, because we are going to be scrapping from multiple websites. I'm only showing you one website scrap and one document scrap, but when this website is done on my side, I'm going to find couple of websites that I'm going to scrap from, and each and every one of them is going to be giving me data in different formats. So I need my model to be flexible to allow for that to be processed. All right, so I'm going to clear this, and I want to run server. So I'm going to do Python manage.py run server, because I want to create accounts for I don't know why I keep calling it APSA, for Vodacom. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so we're going to run this server over there. And then I want to go to my admin panel. All right, where's my admin panel? It's over there. Let's just go to the front of the admin panel. All right, so I'm going to go to companies. You'll see under companies, I still have government jobs. I didn't show you when I entered this information. All right, so I'm going to show you when I enter the information for Vodacom. All right, so this is going to be Vodacom. Okay, what is the description of Vodacom? Let's go have a look. Vodacom is not Vodacom Jobs, just Vodacom as a company. Let's just go to Vodacom. Maybe let me say Vodacom Careers. Right. Right. I want to actually go to the Vodacom Careers website. All right. And the first thing that I want to do is there any description that helps me over here? I don't know. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to copy this. Right. Doesn't matter. I can fix it later. So it looks like a whole description for a company. Okay, I'm going to post that in there. The unique ID, I don't have to specify. This will be calculated for me when I save the file. Okay, then I want the Vodacom logo. All right, so let me search for it. Vodacom logo. You'll see a couple of them. Which one looks good? I don't know, this one. Okay, save. No, can I go into images and look for something specific? Maybe that one is a good one. Square logo. All right, save image as, let's see, a Vodacom. All right, it's a JPEG. That's good. So when I come over here, I can just choose that file that I just downloaded, Vodacom.jpg. And then all of this, I don't have to enter the slug. All of this will be calculated for me automatically. So I'm going to save. All right. And when I click save, you'll see now it created the slug for me. If I go back to Vodacom, I'll see now all of these, the unique ID has been created for me. This is just what I entered over there. All right. And then so I'm going to copy that unique ID for the slug and go back and add it to my, so under companies, so this is not up, so it's Vodacom. The unique ID for the company is that. All right. And then the category, I'm going to have to, find the category, do the category separately. All right. So for now, I'm actually going to leave the category out. I'll add these later. All right. I'll add these manually. All right. So let me remove the category for now. All right. So at least I've shown you how to do the company, and you'll see inside of my model, I have made it nullable, so you can now this or that, so you don't have to enter it. Okay. So what I'll do is that I'll do it manually later. So at least the company will be entered, but the category is not there. I'll have a look at the jobs later and enter the category. But in reality, you want to do this as you're building this. So you want to be able to, figure out if you're looking at your job description over here. All right. And maybe you can do this with the intelligent code, and you can read at the description, and you can look for certain keywords, and then you can say, if you get this kind of keywords, maybe the category is this, or maybe the category that. Or you can take all of Vodacom jobs and have them under banking and create a category for banking, for example. Maybe let's do that, right? But then that's wrong, because if you have an IT job in there, it will not fit. Okay, so maybe we'll do this for now differently. You don't have to fix everything in one day. You just work the code that works, and then we'll fix it as we go along. All right. So I'm gonna leave the category out, and I'll save it like that. Right. So I'll import the models. All right. I'll get the user. I'll get final jobs, and then I'll do that. And now what I need to fix over here, I need to fix what happens if that job doesn't exist. Okay, remember I removed that condition. All right, so I need to actually add it again, because we're gonna have an error if I do not do it. Right, so I'm gonna say if condition. I will write the condition. Right, if condition is true, we're gonna return none. Right, all right, and else we're going to return this, right? And the condition, I'm going to look for, remember we had to look for this, all right? So I'm going to find the, job soup. So maybe I should put the condition over here. All right, so everything in here, all right, everything up to job soup, I'm going to exit out of there and put it outside of the if statement. Well, that's so that it will look for the URL, it will find that, it will run the, the thing anyway, and then it will find the job soup, all right? So after it has found the job soup, I'm going to search for this, all right? Okay, outside of the condition. Okay, I'm not going to call it the divs. I'm going to call it something else so it doesn't confuse this with the other one. I'm going to call this, I don't know, to test. All right, because I don't want to confuse that variable with that variable. So I know that if the job doesn't exist and they've removed it, this diff doesn't exist. Okay, because only that H1 statement and the notice that says this job isn't filled exists. So if I've assigned this job scan and over here it's returning none because there's not to test. If I say if job over there, it will be false and then it won't run. So this will only run if this is not none, right? So after that, the user will get the company, which I've just created the company now with this unique ID. So this will be saved under APSA jobs. And then let's test this. All right, so we have an error here. We have an invalid date format. Okay. 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 All right. So I'm going to exit out of this shell, and I think I know what that problem is. So invalid a date error is over here where I'm trying to save this as a date. Let me go back to my apps.py. All right, so where I'm trying to save this date posted as a date object. This is problematic because over here, where is it? Let me find date posted. All right, this date posted is a date field. All right, and I'll have to enter it as a date, and the data comes in as a string. All right, so I'm going to change this from a date field to or actually, you know what, I'm going to just remove the date posted, right? So I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to remove it. I don't think it's necessary. All right, so I'm just going to remove it, right? And then you have the type and then you don't have the date. So let's just nano test .py. I'm just going to go and remove it. Okay, it's not necessary to have it. In the other data set, I didn't even have it. All right, and then okay, so it ran this time. Okay, and I'm going to exit. All right, and then I'm going to clear this. I'm going to do Python manage.py run server 1 2 3 4 8000, and we are going to go back into our jobs databases, and so these are all the Vodacom jobs. All right, a senior specialist. So these are all the business development manager. Why does it look like the jobs were entered twice? So it looks like every single, every job was entered twice. Why was that? Okay, guys, before we continue, I'm a little bit worried why this data is replicating in the database. And I figured if I don't fix it, it's going to be replicating in every single code that I write. So I took some time to think about it, okay? So I went through the, the code and the HTML, and I figured that, the URL must be copying twice, because what we're doing over here is that we're finding all the instances, so that you might find that somebody has linked the URL more than once, okay? So what I've done is that I've added this new line of code that is sitting over here, all right? And I've renamed a couple of things. Remember, table used to be equals to this, and table is the list that we're going to be iterating through. So what I've done is that I've made it an empty list to start, okay? And then I've renamed the soup find all as a result. So this is the list which actually, when I was troubleshooting, I found this is a list that contains the duplicate links. So you find that one job is linked twice. because there's two links to the same, to the same job within the same div, all right? So that's being problematic. And then when we get to here, when we are scanning through all the links, we are going to the same link twice, and then we are picking up the jobs twice. That's why we're showing a duplication in our database. The duplication comes from the links over here. So what I've done is that I've said results is equals to this, and I've renamed this, and then I've added this line of code. This line of code is useful for removing duplicates from a list. So if you have a list that has things that could be duplicated, if you run this code, you're going to get rid of that. So what I've done here is that I've now, you start with a new empty list, and then you work off getting everything from this list to that list, making sure that nothing gets replicated as you add it. So if you add A to that list, and you add B and you add C, and then you try to add A again, if you're using this formula, A won't be added if it already exists in the list. So that's what we're doing here. So the formula, the code says it's table.append X. All right, for X in results if X is not in the table. So we're only appending everything from this list to that list if the thing doesn't already exist in the list. So we sort of broke this down into two stages, and I've tested this a couple of times. I know it works, and the problem was with the duplicate links. Okay, so I've removed those duplicate links, and going forward we shouldn't find the duplicate job positions. So I'm going to rerun this code. I've deleted everything from my database, and I'm going to rerun the code and make sure that I don't replicate anything. But before rerunning the code, I thought, okay, fine, if I'm going to rerun the code, let's do everything right. Then I've added this datetime at the top. From datetime, import date. Let me just make sure I can import date from here. Let me just do Python. From data, import date. Yes, I can import date. All right. So from datetime, import date. And then at the bottom here, we're just going to say, what is it? The date posted is date.today. So what this is going to do, it just takes today's date, but it's going to be in the date format, which is what we have in our database over here. Where's our database? Job model database, where we have date posted is a date field. Okay, so we should be able to have that without an issue, because we didn't, previously it was coming in as a string and it was giving an error. So we're going to test that as well. And then the last thing that I did very, very quickly, I didn't spend a lot of time on this, but I think it's going to help with the way we put our data into the database the first time. I thought I would just leave the category out, but then I thought about it again. I said, no, let's add it in, because the way we write this code the first time, every subsequent data that gets entered will be entered in the same format. All right. So I created new category classes over here. So if you go to my database, you'll see under the category table, I just added new categories. This government jobs was the first category. So I added these ones. Let me see if my thing is running. Yeah, it's running. Let's just pick one, like trainee. All right. It was very simple to just add a new category. I just give it a title, and then for now I don't want to think too much, so there's no description. But later on, off camera, I will rewrite the description properly. All right, and then added an image. So it was easy to just sort of add a description and a title. So I was able to do it for like, I looked through the jobs from Vodacom, and most of them are falling within these categories. And obviously, every time I scrap a different website, I will add on this list, and it will become longer and longer, all right? So for the website I'm scrapping today, most of the jobs are going to fall within these categories: developer, databases, engineers, and so forth and so forth. And then I've added this code here. So this wasn't there before. What you see over here was not there before. This whole if lines wasn't there before. I just added it now to determine what the category is. All right. So if director exists in the job title, you must pull out the objects where the title is the director. If the engineer exists, you must pull out the job where the engineer where the title is the engineer, and so forth and so forth. And because it's an elif path or link, if it goes in here, it won't go in the other ones. All right. So the way you organize this, if you're going to organize it in the way of preference, because you're going to find jobs where there is a director of research or a director of databases, whatever. So you might have director exist and databases also exist. So the way that I do this, if the director exists, it will come first, it will have preference, and then it'll go under the director. And then you'll find that jobs don't go into multiple categories. So the way I've structured this, you won't have more than one category per job. All right. A job will fit into only one category, and it will depend on this order that I've organized it in here. And finally, if it doesn't fit into any of these categories, I've created an extra category that is called uncategorized. Obviously, to the client, I won't call it uncategorized. I'll call it something else like other or whatever on the front end, all right? But I know on my database, it's uncategorized. And then everything else here is the same, except I added date posted is that, all right? So we're going to try this code again, but I want to just refresh this link before I do that, just to make sure that this link is fresh. And I think I can just delete everything else, because we are finishing with this Vodacom website. We've been scrapping it a bit, and we haven't gotten issues with it. So it's a nice website to scrap. But I'm going to refresh this again. All right. So it's only one of 25 or 27. You see, some of the jobs are gone. All right. That's why I did that. Some of the jobs are not there, but also they've added new jobs that were not in the other one. So I'm going to recopy that list over there, and I'm gonna, where is it? I don't know. I think it should look the same, because every time it goes to this link, it will basically be going to a fresh link every time. All right, so let's see. Job scan is that, return none, the models, final jobs. Okay, so I don't need this over here. Let me delete that. Okay, so that's the user, that's the company. So they're all gonna go under this company called Vodacom, and they will be slotted into the different categories based on the company. So I'm going to copy this entire code, and I'm gonna stop this, Control C. So I lost internet connectivity for a while there. Let me see if this is running. Yeah, it's not running. So it looks like we got disconnected, but I have this running on the other side. So I'm just going to clear it. I've got two tabs running for this problem. So I'm going to remove the current test.py. So we're going to remove that, and then we're going to go nano test.py like that. And we're going to repaste that, that one over there. And yes, I'm in Control X. Yes, save the modified. No. Okay, don't save it. So let's say no, don't save it. Okay, let's save it for now, because I think I typed something, a Y at the end, then it's going to give me a problem. I typed a Y at the end of the document when I was trying to say yes. Okay, so Control X, save the buffer, yes. All right. Then we need to remember run this program inside of the shell. So let me go find my shell. Where is it? What I need to type in there. This is what I need to type to run this in the shell, but I would say start with Python manage.py shell. All right, and then once the shell is opened, then I'm gonna just paste that function in there, which runs test.py inside of the shell. Okay, so let's run this. Hopefully no errors. Cross fingers. Category. All right, so let's see. I must have misspelled something in here. All right, so let's look for that category. Where is it? Okay, let's see at the bottom here. It's going to be over there. All right, that's the problem. All right, so let's copy this. Actually, we don't have to copy. We can just fix it. Let's exit first. All right, and let's open the file, nanotest.py, like that. And let's go to the bottom and just fix that spelling. So this category is wrong. It should be category. All right, and save that. And then let's do the shell again. If we just copy and paste it, and then when the shell is running, let us copy and paste this function in here. Exec open read python.py, test.py files. Takes a bit of time, and ran without errors. Awesome. And then let's exit out of there. All right, so let's then run this manage.py run server. Okay, Then once we've run server, we're gonna go in there. That should be the categories, but I wanna go into the jobs, okay? I wanna see the jobs I just created now, and you see there's no duplication anymore, can you see? And there should only be 25 jobs because over here, this list is 25 long, all right? It tells you there at the bottom, 1 to 25 of 27. So this should be 25 jobs. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like 25, all right? So definitely there's no duplication this time. So I'm gonna pick one randomly, all right? And pick that one. And you'll see this one was classified under specialist, you see, because the word specialist was in there, all right? And obviously the description is this long description over there. So the description came through, and the date posted was today, the 14th of February, Valentine's Day. All right, and the owner is myself, and then the slug and everything came out properly, and the URL link also came through, which means we'll be able to allow people to click on this URL link to go and apply for the job on the website of Vodacom. So that looks really good. So we've got the company, we've got the category, so all is done. Now finally, let us go to the front end and start looking at these jobs in the front end, all right? So to do that, let me see. There's a couple of things we need to do, and I need to just check my checklist. We need to, first of all, do the jobs list, so that we can list all the jobs, and then we have to do the individual, pages. And if you look at the job model, with which is this job model over here, you will see that there's a couple of detailed pages over there that I need to build the URL paths for, okay? So these detailed pages, I'm just going to note them down so I don't forget them, okay? I have to build a company detail page. All right, I have to build a URL. I might not do all of this in this video. We are running out of time. Category detail. And maybe I'll do just one, the job detail, and then you'll see how to do all the other ones, all right? The job detail, all right? And I'd also like to do a job list, okay? Which just lists all the jobs, and then one that shows a detail for one specific job. All right, so let's start with so now I can actually delete all these Python files. No, cancel. I want to save all of this because they actually saved on my computer. I'm gonna delete that. I'm gonna delete, maybe I'll leave that open. Testing 2, definitely delete that. Index, I don't know if we need this. Let's leave that open. Jobs.html. I think this is the one. All right. So I wrote this file off camera. It's going to be extending layer 2 that like we already have, and I think this is supposed to be the job list page. All right. So this HTML page, I built it off, the way my template looks like, and you can use whatever template that you want to build. But there's a couple of things I just want to draw your attention to. Okay, we are gonna be looping through job in jobs. All right. So whatever template you use, you're gonna have that functionality where you're gonna loop through the data set and display each and every single job. Job title, job dot. Location, job.salary, job.type, date posted, contract type, and so forth. And the little extra thing that I added that is important for me to note is that I used that if conditional rendering. Okay, so before I actually render or display the job location, I'm going to check if job.location exists. The reason why I'm doing this is when we created our database, if you recall, I allowed our model, I allowed for null everywhere because I told you that the data that we're going to be getting, we don't know, we're going to only get the data that we have. So if I'm scrapping the Vodacom website, for example, they only give me the job description for one long job description, and I don't have the inquiries and I don't have the requirements. But if I'm scrapping the government documents, for example, I'm able to get all of this, but I don't get the description, right? So when it comes to the HTML, the important thing over here is that when it comes to the HTML, all of this is conditional rendering, okay? So if the location exists, you will show it, all right? If the salary exists, you will show it. If the job type exists, you will show it. So all of them are under those if conditions. That's the only thing to mention. Everything else is pretty standard to what we've been doing when it comes to templating, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this template. If you've got questions, please watch some of the previous videos we've done on this, all right? So we want a template for the job list, all right? So let's go back to our server. Let's stop this. We're going to clear this, all right? we are going to cd into the jobs app. All right, we're going to list over here, and our template will go over there. But before our template goes over there, we are going to what am I going to do? We are going to we're going to open the views file, views.py. All right, so currently we have on the home page listing all the pages, and you'll see this is now a lot of pages that we're listing on the pages on the home list. Okay, initially when we did this, we were showing everything because we only had like two jobs that we're using for an example. So in this specific case, you're actually not going to do this. You're going to maybe list like the top 10 or the top 5 or whatever. All right, so I'm going to rewrite this 1 2 3 4, and I'm going to say job list, okay, is equals to job list, is equals to job list. Now open close brackets, and I'm gonna say just show the first, I don't know, 1 2 3 4 jobs for now. Okay, so it's only gonna show 4. Actually, when we collect it from the database, we'll collect only 4 instead of collecting everything and only showing 4. But now we're rushing, and I'm going to just do it like this. All right, and then we're gonna write a new function for the job, the jobs, what we call it, the detailed jobs page. All right, so it's gonna be a new function. I'm gonna write for now a function-based view, but later on we'll maybe convert to a class-based view. But let's just work with the functions. So we're gonna call it job list. All right, so it's gonna be job list, job underscore list, like that, and it's gonna take in the request. Right, and then everything else is gonna pretty much like remain the same. Okay. All right, and instead of limiting it to 4, over here maybe I will show the first, and we'll work on pagination and all of that later. But for now, let's just say we're gonna display, I don't know, 20 jobs, right, on the job list. But later on, we'll work on pagination so that you can be able to go to the next page and the next page and so forth. And then the HTML file that we're going to work with is going to be called job list.html. Okay, the job list.html we haven't created. We're going to create now. All right. So let us do that. Let's close this and save that. And then we're going to cd into our template. And let's list what's in here, and then we're going to create a new template called job list, like that, .html. All right, so this is going to be our list template, and the one that I've written over here is going to be careers portal home. It's going to take us to the home page, and then this is going to go to the jobs, and this is the one where we're iterating through the jobs for job in jobs. All right, so I'm going to just copy this HTML in there. All right, and then for jobs, the URL path for this will be, jobs/jobs. All right, but we haven't created the URL path. First, let's save this and say yes. All right, and then we're gonna cd out of here. We're gonna cd out of here completely, and we're gonna open our URL file, which is gonna be inside Scholar app, urls.py. All right, so let me see over here. We don't have a path that says jobs. All right, so what we're going to do in here is that we're going to create a new path, all right, over there. All right, and I'm just going to copy this. Okay, 1 2 3 4, and paste it, and this new path is going to be jobs. All right, so if someone goes to our home page and then they go /jobs, okay, they will get to this URL. Okay, and then this is going to be users views, not users views, it's going to have to be jobs views. All right, so it's going to have to be jobs views. So let's replace that users views with jobs views. All right, and then it's going to be jobs views. The function that we just created now, that function I was just writing, that is called a job list. That is the function that we need to call. All right, job list, and then the name that we're going to give it here is going to be job list. Okay, job list, like that. All right, and then while we're here, we might as well create the job detail root as well. All right, so let's do that. All right, let's paste it. No, okay, so we can't. We're pasting something else. Let's copy this. All right, so let's start at the beginning. Okay, so the job detail will be jobs. All right, and then it will be slash. Let's put in the slash right now, and then we're gonna have to like do it the way we did over here. All right, so maybe we will do job and have view in there. All right, or we can even remove the view, and there's no need to have view. We can just like put the open and close like that, and then put in the slug in there. Okay, so the slug is the one that's going to help us identify the specific job instance that we're looking for. All right, remember the slug is the one that is identified inside of your detail model. That one over there is the one that we use to determine the get absolute URL to the reverse path of job detail. So this job path, we have to call it job detail exactly like that. All right, so it will be that slug, and then it will be job views dot instead of job list, I'm going to create I haven't created it yet, but I'm going to call it job detail. When I do create it, that's going to be the function that runs that. Okay, and then after that, I'm going to call it job detail. All right, and then once you've done that, job views, job detail, job views, job list. All right, I'm going to close this. And I'm going to say yes, and then I'm going to go into cd into jobs again. And I'm going to nano views.py, and then let's create that function for job detail. All right, so def job okay, this is also going to take in the request like that, and then we're going to say 1 2 3 4. All right, but it's going to take in the slug as well. All right, so let's put it in there. Let's put in, it's going to take the request and the slug. The slug is going to be the argument that gets passed into that URL. So it's going to take the okay, we misspelled request. All right, request. Right, it's going to take in the request and it's going to take in the slug. Okay, it's going to take in two things, and then once it takes in the request and the slug, we're going to have to now then create, calculate or find from the database the specific job instance. All right. So at the top over there, I think I've forgotten this as well. All right, and let me do it while I'm still here. From jobs, from models, let's just import everything. Okay, so we don't forget to import a class over there. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to just find, I've written it in here. No, where's that file of mine? Where's my apps? I've renamed it. Where is it? Okay, I just want to copy this function over there. All right, so I'm going to paste that. And this is now equals to, we need to be finding the job. All right, and let's just call it the job. All right, so we're going to go to our database into the jobs class objects. We're going to get a job that has the slug that is equals to the slug. All right, so we're using the slug here to find the specific job. All right, we're going to be using the slug that is equals to the slug. And the slug is equals to this slug over here. All right, and once we've done that, we are gonna return 1 2 3 4, return render. All right, and we're gonna render open and close, and then we're going to render taking in the request object. Okay, and then the HTML that we're gonna be working with, we're just gonna call it job detail. I haven't created it yet, but I'm going to create it now. Job detail.html, and then we're gonna have open and close bracket, and inside the open brackets over there we're gonna have object. Okay, let's call it object because then we'll be able to reuse the same HTML even when we're doing class-based views later on if we want to, right? and the object is actually going to be equals to the job. Okay. So this job that we found over here, where we are using the slug to collect jobs from the database for that job, we're going to return the request on this HTML file, and the object is going to be called the job. All right. So we can close this and save that, and then we need to create that job detail.html. All right. So we're going to cd into the template. All right. And then we're going to list in there. It doesn't exist, that job detail, so we're going to create it now. So say nano job detail.html, like that. All right. So for that, I think I have another file over here. This was the detailed file. So this is the, this was the list file, and this is the detailed file. So I've already written it off camera. It's very similar, actually. A lot of this is exactly the same. You can use whatever template that you want to work with. The only thing is that where you are displaying certain things, like now at the top under the description, when we did the SEO description inside of the actual object itself in the database, and we added it there, we'll be able to, like when we did the model, we were able to calculate, or not calculate, but specify our description in the saved model. So we know that each and every single job instance already has an SEO description, which we didn't even have to write, because we just sort of used common words, and then we just inserted in there like the title and the location and things like that, right? So we'll be able to have an SEO description and an SEO keywords. These are very, very important for the jobs to be searchable. We are building a job website, which is gonna, the more popularity it gets, the more people that will be using it, and the more we can make money out of it, whether it's advertising or charging companies to advertise their jobs or whatever. All right. And so we need SEO to be good, all right? So from the beginning, I'm going to be spending more time. In fact, I'll spend more time working on, in the database, what's the appropriate way of writing this SEO description. But I won't be able to write an SEO description for every single job, especially if I'm going to be looking for 1,000 jobs at a time, and I'm going to write this program to go and scrap like 100 different websites. I can't write a description for every job. So the best way to do it is what I've done over here in the save function, is to just use randomize words. And you can even find a way to, import random and randomize even this whole sentence, because Google doesn't like if you want to be replicating the same sentence over and over again. So you can randomize some of the words that you're using. You can have different types of words that you could use, and maybe we'll think about that later on, and then randomize this sentence, but you can do it still in the save function of the thing, so you don't have to do it manually. All right. So once I've done that, that's everything that goes in there, and then these are the breadcrumbs. We're gonna have the home page, and then the jobs. So this is actually job detail, but actually I'm going to write this in the URL format. Okay, like that. I'm going to say URL. And the URL for this is job detail. No, job list. This is what we call that URL. We called it job list. All right, and then after that, then it will go to the specific job title, and then I've just pulled out some of the specific job things here as well. If job.salary exists, we're gonna show it. So this is similar to the detail page. If something exists, we're gonna show it. And the design of it, I just actually worked off the templates that I have, and we downloaded these templates from, if you worked with me from the beginning, the earlier lectures where we downloaded these templates. You can use any template you want. I'm not teaching HTML in this course. I just want you to understand how to then display the data in the front. The template that you use is up to you, but where you want to display the title, for example, you will say your object.title. Where you want to display the salary, for example, you will say object.salary, but you're going to use conditional display, and this only renders if the salary actually exists, because you don't want to just do it like that, and then you're working with a data set that didn't have the salary specified. That's the only thing that's important for you to note with this template over here. So I'm going to then go and copy all of this that I've already written, and I'm going to paste it in there. All right, and then I'm good to go. I'm gonna go Command X, and then that's all right. And then the last thing that I want to do is I want to go to my home page, and actually on the menu I want to list the the link for the job, so that I can just click on it from the home page and find it. Right. So I need to go. Let me see here. LS. Okay. So it is this home.html template. Okay. So let's open that. Right, and at the top here where you have the menu, let me just find where's the menu. There it is. Right, so you have a home, you have blogs, you have candidates, and all of that. Right, so I'm going to redo this. Right, and say, instead of saying candidates over there, right? Instead of saying candidates, I'll leave blogs because I'm still going to do that. Instead of saying candidates, I want to say jobs. So this will be at the top menu. I will say jobs, all right? And now I can actually add the job list because now I know what, where the URL is. And the URL for this is the percent signs, then you're gonna put in the word URL, and then this was what, job list, like that, right? So this will take us to the job list, right? So I'm actually going to copy this, and then we're gonna put it inside our layout templates as well. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to CD out of here, and I'm going to CD into out of here as well, and then I'm going to list, I'm going to CD into Scholar app. I want my layout templates where they are saved. They are saved into inside of the app directory, all right, under the templates folder. So these are all the layout files. So I think layout 2 is the one we're extending for most of these, all right. So I'm going to nano layout 2.html because I think layout 1 is the one for the login pages and stuff. It doesn't have a menu on top, all right. So if you look at layout 2 and you go down layout 2, you just want to find where the menu is as well. All right, so this is where the menu is. You see that jobs was already there, right? So I'm gonna just remove it. Remove what's already there. We'll work on the blocks later, but for now, let's then paste that. Also should have it as jobs. All right, save. Layout 2. Let's CD out of there. Let's CD out of there. Okay, let's open up the other one again, the index one. So let's open up jobs, templates, home.html. That's the first template. I just want to put jobs instead of job. I just noted that when I pasted the other one that it had a job, not jobs. All right. So what I want to say is jobs, all right, because it's a jobs list. All right. And then Command X and save. And let us hope everything is well. We are going to run server, right? Okay. So where's our, so we're gonna start with this page, all right? Crossing fingers, let's start it. All right, so you'll see now that jobs is there, all right? And so this was on the menu where I edited it. So let's click on it. All right, could not pass from job.location. If, oh yeah, there's an error there, all right? You see that close bracket over there. Okay, so let me find this. Let me just copy this. Yeah, this is normal. You know, you'll find typos and things like that. Let's stop this and let's clear. All right, so let me actually, it will be easier for me to find this inside of the jobs list. Okay, so let me find over there and find where this is. All right, so I need to remove this close bracket in there. That's a typo. All right, so because there's going to be a mission to try and find this in there, whatever, I'm just going to copy, repaste this again. Okay, so I'm going to open, it should be inside of the jobs application, then it's inside of the templates folder, all right, and then it should be called job detail. No, job list, all right, job list.html. Let me open it up, all right, let me see if I can actually find it. Maybe I can. It's location, yeah, it's this one. I can find it actually. Right, it's this one over here. You need to remove that curly braces in there, right? And then let's save that, all right? And then let's run server again. Python run server. Right, and then let's try it under the jobs one now. Must be the first tag. Okay. All right, so let's close this again, and let's open up Python manage. No, not that one. A job list like that. Okay, so this needs to be the first one. Okay, so I'm going to just remove that. All right, and then open close percentage. All right, save this. Okay, and I'm just gonna check the other one, the job detail as well, because maybe I have the same error in there as well. Okay, job detail. Yeah, I have the same problem here as well. So load static must come second. So let me delete that. Close, open. All right, so let's run server now. Yes, teething problems. Sometimes I don't show this on camera. I test things before, but so what? Okay. There you go. So there is our, okay, so the HTML is a bit shaky, but we'll fix that later. I think the important thing is that it displays. So we have our job list. This is the you know, this was a government job. So this is the logo that we use, okay? So we used that flag that we downloaded, remember, and we saved it as that. So this is also a government job. This is also the government job. And I don't remember that I had a link for a detailed page on here. All right, but so far it looks really good. All right, so the only thing I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to get rid of this and I'm going to extend this completely, but I'll do that later off camera. That's not important. Let me just add a link over here on the detailed page on the jobs, somewhere in here. All right, actually I can do this very quickly. Just remove this and make this long enough, so no advert here. Let me see. Okay, so this is the second column over there. All right, so we're just going to delete that column. All right, and then this first column, which is this one over there, we're just going to make it column LG12. All right, then it's going to fill, MD12 is going to fill the entire page. Then after that, I just want a place where you can like link and go to the detailed page. So actually the best place to do it is inside here. All right, so I'm going to say on the title over there, where is it? Job.title, okay, job.company.title. That's government jobs. So over here, so the title is the one at the top, that one over there. So this H5, I'm gonna give it an anchor around it. No, actually, it already has an anchor. It already has an anchor, and the href was just going nowhere. All right, so we're going to put a link over here that takes us to the detailed page. Okay, so we're going to specify it as URL. Okay, and then we're going to specify the name of the location it must go to, and that is job detail. All right, and then we're going to specify the arguments that must go in there. So the argument is a slug. All right, so it's going to be job.slug, like that. All right, so the job detail is the name of the URL, the job.slug is the arguments that goes into that, and then this is how you represent that. All right, let me see if there's anything else I want to fix. No, that's all right. And maybe later on, if this is very long, we're going to find a way to shorten it, so that it doesn't look really bad like that. But those are like cosmetic things we can fix. Okay, this is the most important thing here that we've just done amazing things now here. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to try and find the job list over there, nano job list. Instead of nano, I just have remove what's already there, rm, right? Then I can do nano, and I'm gonna paste that. All right, then I'm gonna close this. All right, and then I'm gonna run server again. All right, and then I'm going to we've got an issue here. right. Yeah, must be the first tag. It should be. I did fix that. Oh no, not on the detail page. I think I did the opposite. What am I doing here? Okay, so let me open this. All right, nano job list. Right, load static. What is it saying? The extends must be the first tag in the template. So where it says extends, or because I changed it over there and then I copied this. Oh, damn it. All right, no, I see what I'm doing here. So this is when I pasted it, I pasted it from something that I copied it on the other side. Damn it. So the load static comes over there. So let's put in the 2% signs. Okay, so let me just fix it now in my thing, all right? Because I'm gonna be having the same problem every time I paste this if I don't fix it over here. And let me fix it over there as well. So load static must come in second, all right? Right, and paste that, all right? Then let's save this. All right, and then let's run our server. All right, and then let's start our website, and there you go. Right, so now that looks a little bit better. It's filling the hole, whatever, and you can see the the logo of the company much clearer. So far, it's only releasing the company. I don't see any of the Vodacom jobs. I know they are there. Oh, there it is. There's one Vodacom one. All right, principal specialist strategy and whatever. Okay, so I wanted two types of companies, so let me like open this in the detailed page. All right, so now this has a link on it, and you can see if you hover over it, you can see the URL at the bottom over there. It's showing the assistant director, auditors, wara salary, internal, the entire description is being shown over there. And this is good for SEO as well, by the way. The more detail you have in your URL, actually you want that, because it's good for SEO. So I'm going to open this in a new tab. All right, and this is the detailed page. That's nice. Okay, but I'm gonna fix a couple of things here. So first of all, this logo is very big, the company logo. So I need to make that smaller. But you can see the detailed page now. You can see inquiries separately. Share this if you wanna share it, and if you're not, I left this space open. If you wanted to add an ad, this is what you would want with a job website, for example, to have the ability to add an advert. And this is what you'll be making money from if you have AdSense or whatever. You can add your adverts over there, all right? But I'm gonna make this smaller, obviously, and I don't see a title. There should be a title over here. Okay, there it is. There's your title, and there's a title over there as well, and this is your whatever. So this looks good, and the page works. That's amazing. So I'm gonna try and open this one and see what this one looks like. All right. So this one, yeah, this is how I wanted it, right? So why is that logo looking funny? So this one, I'm going to figure out what's happening over there, all right? But this is what I want, the location, the date posted, the type, the contract type, and you can see the logo fits nicely over there. And you have that long description, that long description where we concatenated paragraphs after each other. This is what it's going to end up looking like. Maybe later on we'll fix it up, all right? But I mean, this is all we wanted. So somebody that's looking for a job will come here. Oh, there's a job. This is in South Africa. Oh, it's full time. It was posted today on the February 14th, whatever. They can click on this, apply for this job. Okay, and they open it in a new tab. All right, and it takes them to the website where they can apply for the job because it's the URL of the link. So this really works. With the government jobs, there is no link because let's go look at the government jobs. Let me open another government one like this one. All right. You'll see with the government jobs, I said if there's no link, don't add the link. Okay, so there's no link over here because we know with the government jobs, we just had the PDF that we were working through. There's technically like no link to go and apply. They want you to like look at that PDF and find somebody's name and call them and telephone these people for them to give you information how to apply, whatever. So government jobs need to do a lot of work to improve how they manage that. But you'll see I need to fix how this is displayed. But I mean, basically we've done a great job. So in this lecture that was very long, we covered how to get data for our database. Let's go to our homepage, for example. All right, so our homepage at the bottom here now, we have we are now showing some jobs over here. All right, so I only showed 4 jobs. All right, and currently there's I need to fix that. So we thought there's going to be an image shown. All right. But what I'm going to do, I'll do it off camera because there's no time now, right? I'm going to link this to take you to the detailed page for what do you call it, the detailed page for the category, right? So we have categories: technology, developer. I know we don't have this one, but whatever the categories we have, we will rename these to match those categories, right? And then when you click on this, the same way we built this link over here from the job list, all right, that the way we built the link from the job list that goes into the detailed page, we're going to do it like that. And we're going to be able to go to the detailed page for technology. And on the detailed page for technology, we're going to build it the same way we built this detailed page, all right? We built it like this. We'll show and we'll have the paragraph that describes the details, but then we're going to be able to call the database and find only jobs that have that category. And then on the detailed page, we'll display only the jobs that are related to that category. You understand what I'm saying? So I can't do this in this lecture because we're completely running out of time. But at the beginning of next week's lecture, I will do it off camera and then I will just take you through it very, very quickly. But with the information I've given you, you should actually be able to do it yourself. This is your homework. If you've seen how we built the list, all right, for this, we don't have to build the list page because no one is going to be looking for a list of categories. But what we're going to be building is the detailed category page for all of this, all right? And after we build that within the detailed category page, the way we've done the detailed page over here, we're going to be displaying all the detailed information that is there in the database. But then at the bottom over here, maybe before the end, before the footer, we can add now a list of jobs. We can say for job in jobs, and then that list of jobs, instead of it being a list of collecting all the jobs from the database, we can collect a list only and filter that list that the category matches this current category. You understand what I'm saying? And then we'll be able to show only the category jobs in the category page, but it is still a detailed page. You understand? But I'll show you that next week, guys. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week.